You are now entering Video Village.
Holiday apartments, now toilet.
No, don't you mean toilet?
I know what I said.
Coming up,
We review Elevation,
back in action.
Flight Risk,
Here,
The Night Agent Season 2,
out there.
Saturday Night,
Silo Season 2.
Star Trek Section 31,
Wolfman.
and You're Cordially Invited.
We're going to begin with the Sam's Lexicentre.
Samuel. Words. Phrases. Sam's Lexic.
Center.
So this is the juxtaposition of jaunty, uplifting or innocent music and violence, often hyper-violence, in film and television. So I was thinking back to things that employ this. Clockwork Orange is kind of the latest I can go back without deep thought.
Okay.
In Clockwork Orange, he raped, there's a gang rape
Okay.
to classical music, essentially.
Okay.
Then Reservoir Dogs, Stuck in the Middle with You, American Psycho, Huey Lewis and the News, Shaun of the Dead, Don't Stop Me Now, as they, battle zombies. I think the modern infusion of it starts with Kick-Ass. I think that was with Hit Girl, completely obliterating a group of men
Yes.
to this jaunty tune.
Could it be argued... Then again, if it's Kick-Ass, I don't know. But I was going to say, I think most people would say that Guardians of the Galaxy kind of popularised it in the modern sphere.
In terms of using 80s cheesy pop hits, sort of out of a normal context, yes. But I'm specifically talking about, it's usually hyper-violence. It's it's cartoonish violence. So Matthew Vaughn would be the kind of progenitor of this stuff. Yeah, Kick-Ass, then Kingsman, there's the scene like the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Where Colin Firth is killing everybody. I can't remember the song, but it's that. And now Atomic Blonde does it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure Deadpool is littered with it. I'm going to call that upbeating.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes, I did toy with Happy Scrappy.
I like that.
And Tootle Brutal.
I also like that.
Which is why I do like that.
Yeah.
So feel free to use them interchangeably if you wish, but I think upbeating kind of...
Well, that feels like if you were actually...
Yes, that's the actual
That is a term that you could, quote in an academic text with a straight face.
Yes,
isn't it?
without shame. Yeah. So, upbeating.
Samuel. Words. Phrases. Sam's Lexic.
Center.
And this episode, I think there's only one review that I'm handling alone.
Yes.
So I'm going to do that now.
Okay.
It's called Elevation, the film.
All right.
It's...
Elevation, the film.
Elevation, the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about aliens come to Earth. It's a quiet place. Aliens come to Earth, wipe us all out. But it turns out they can't ascend higher than 8,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
That's a cut-off point for them. So everyone who's now left lives up in the mountains.
Right.
Anthony Mackie's the main guy. His daughter has, I think it's asthma, and she's run out of medicine. So he has to navigate. He has to descend below to get some medicine with the help of a scientist who kind of knows about the aliens a bit, was studying them, and another person. That's the film. So the director, George Nolfi, brought us The Adjustment Bureau, which was okay, but still a big studio film. And he co-wrote The Bourne Ultimatum. I think Greengrass is the auteur of Bourne. I don't know how important the scripts even were to that franchise.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, this is yet another filmmaker stepping down and slumming it in the is it straight to streaming hinterland.
Okay.
This had a theatrical release in the US, but it's eminently straight to DVD, as we must insist on still calling it. Over here, it was just streaming. They don't look how they used to look, straight to DVD type films. The tide has risen. This is what they look like now. We must enforce critflation, as we previously coined. They filmed up in the mountains, so there's beautiful natural scenery, easy production values, but not enough to fool you. It's incredibly derivative. People will think of The Last of Us, but the closest comparisons are Gareth Edwards' Monsters and the Quiet Place franchise. If the way to avoid the enemy is to stay silent, as it is in A Quiet Place, I believe that there are enough people in the world to work out that before species annihilation.
Yeah.
Right? Because even then, the monsters seem to have wiped nigh on everyone out. But that has a basis in nature. Many creatures hunt by sound, obviously, and it's intuitive to be quiet around a predator.
Yeah.
The creatures here can't go above 8,000 feet. I don't think altitude would really occur to anyone as a factor.
No, yeah, probably not.
As a factor with enough time to avoid extinction.
Yeah.
You know? So that's kind of bullshit.
Also, is that 8,000 feet? It was 8,000, you said, wasn't it? That's above sea level, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I guess. They don't... I don't know if they like go that deeply into it. But yeah, as soon as they hit that, like they put up, fences basically, like, oh, they won't get past this point.
Okay.
And they just like freak out and they won't go past it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I don't know anyone would have figured that out. There's not enough time to study that before your race is extinguished.
I'm just wondering, like, are there enough human settlements above 8,000 feet?
Right.
That, like, there were enough people that were being unharmed for them to go, well, hang on.
There's a thing there.
Yeah, something's going on here.
I don't know. That's the thing. Maybe. But I don't know. It just felt like if you were thinking of, right, how do we beat them? What's their thing? Altitude would be like one of the last things on the list.
Yeah.
Especially because they obviously came from above, right?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
The design of the creatures is also shoddy, shonky CG, as is to be expected. But all of this stuff just feels post-Demogorgon now.
Right.
Which was hardly new itself. Here they look like buffalo crocodile beetles from space, kinda.
Okay.
You never get a solid apprehension of their physicality. It's hard to think of Anthony Mackie now outside the MCU, and I think he owns that association. He's always very confident and happy and loud in interviews. He's really, really good in The Hurt Locker. Like, should have been nominated, bright future, good. It's disappointing when actors don't live up to their potential. I like Miranda Baccarin, but she doesn't convince as the foul-mouthed alcoholic genius. There is also a third person.
Okay.
The dialogue is clunky and obvious, as are the characterizations. The story plays out exactly as you'd expect, with a bunch of set pieces throughout that you'd expect, because you've seen them all before. There's a tunnel sequence where the cast indiscriminately fire off machine guns, which inexplicably fail to produce even a ringing in their ears, let alone deafening them.
Yeah.
It's a common silly trope, but nonetheless annoying. The film has one idea that I quite liked. It's a spoiler, but who cares? And that's the creatures are actually machines being used by the real invaders.
Oh, okay.
Aliens have yet to come. They've sent their robots ahead of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that kind of tie into...
Well, they're programmed not to go above 8,000 feet.
Okay.
That's where they kind of work out, It's not instinct, it's programming.
Yeah.
That's, like, not a bad idea. But yes, this does indeed set up a sequel. At the end, you kind of see maybe the ship is actually finally coming down.
Right.
I can't see it troubling any of our screens anytime soon.
No.
But you never know. Mostly inoffensive rubbish, really.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, I've seen, 30 films this year, one or two good ones, mostly ones, and about, 11 bad ones, and this is like 10th or 11th of the bad ones.
Oh, okay. Right.
So it's like, it's going to be forgotten.
We have a quick disclaimer from the editing suite before we jump into the next review. There are a couple of moments where the audio jumps ahead ever so slightly. This looks like a problem with the recording and was unfortunately something we couldn't correct in editing. That said, we're only talking about a couple of syllables at most. It's not enough for you to not understand what we're saying, but it's enough to be noticeable. So this is just an acknowledgement that we know, and an assurance that it only happens a couple of times in this review. I think when we stop talking about Tropic Thunder, the audio pretty much smooths out after that. So with that said, please enjoy this review of...
Back in Action. What's it about?
What's it about?
Yeah.
It's about... Was it about 2 hours? Is that what it's about?
Yeah, it's too long.
Yeah. It's for what it is, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm confused, Sam. I thought Jamie Foxx was cancelled.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Because that film is coming out this year, apparently.
Yeah, there was a film...
shelved.
What was it called? It was a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a basketball comedy film.
Yeah, like if you were to Google it, audience, there's a film that didn't come out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was done. It was a Jamie Foxx film. It was done. It was completed. It was ready to go out into cinemas or wherever they were going to put it. And then at the last moment, it was cancelled because there was some accusation levied at him.
I don't know if it's that. He's had historic misconduct, I think. I don't know if it's misconduct or he hit someone. I don't know, but they all seem like quite a while ago. I think the reason that got shelved was because Robert Downey Jr. plays Mexican.
Oh,
in it.
no. Yeah, that's ringing a bell, actually.
Yeah, he's not white.
Yeah. Because I remember seeing an interview, Jamie Foxx was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they specifically spoke about Tropic Thunder.
Right.
And how Jamie Foxx was like, no, I love that performance.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. it's not a surprise that, like, you see him being Mexican in a Jamie Foxx film. It's like, oh, okay, I know that Jamie Foxx wouldn't have a problem with that.
No, of course he
personally.
wouldn't. But it's like the Tropic Thunder is one of the latest films that people go, oh, you couldn't make that anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously 70s comedies go without, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, only 2008, and people are like, well, that seems like an eternity ago now.
Yeah.
It does. But I do think there's something about the Trump presidency, not directly that, but the shifting climate of, oh, let's just relax again, maybe a little bit about stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think there's elements of culture that we talked about that are going to rebel against that. But I do think there's a feeling now of like, Tropic Thunder actually was funny and good, and Robert Downey Jr. was good in it, and let's stop being so sensitive. I think there has been I've sensed a change. I hope it's more profound. No, I don't think Jamie Foxx was ever cancelled.
Okay. Regardless, he's in this. Along with Cameron Diaz.
Yes.
They play a couple of assassins.
Yeah.
A couple of assassins.
Assassin couple.
An assassin couple.
Assassin couple of assassins.
Yes, exactly. Yes. They're on a mission many years ago that goes wrong.
Yeah.
And as a result, they have to go into hiding. Mm-hmm. And so they do. And they have kids and a family, and everything's great. Until they have a teenage daughter who wants to be a teenage daughter.
Yeah.
And so she goes to like a club without them knowing. They go to bring her home. The people that are with her inexplicably are like really nasty and abusive towards the parents.
Yeah.
Like the movie characters where it's like, oh, I'm just going to be violent now.
Yeah. Like, oh, you lose a parents kind of thing. But then they actually becomes fisticuffs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, the people that the daughter are with are like, no, she's with us now.
Yes.
And they go to like attack the parents.
Right.
It's like, people don't do this.
No, even, I don't know with teenagers now, to be fair.
Okay.
I think this probably is a marked increase in aggression.
Okay.
But you're always scared of the parents. Like, that's a line you don't cross.
Yeah.
You don't fuck with the parents.
No, exactly.
But I honestly don't know now.
Okay.
That might have, I don't think it would happen like it does in the film.
No.
But I can see now teenagers actually thinking, excuse me, like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I saw a video recently where a girl tells her father that she's pregnant in her 20-ish.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, you stupid girl, like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, I'm going to keep her or something. And her boyfriend is sitting next to her. And her father is just like, oh, what are you doing? Like, giving her a life lesson, basically.
Yeah.
And the boyfriend's like, I don't appreciate you speaking to her like that. And that to me was like, you don't speak to the father like that.
Yeah, that's not your place.
Yeah, he's the
right
boyfriend.
Now. Yeah.
And he's like, excuse me, it's my fucking house. I'll speak to her wherever I want.
Yeah.
And so I think, generationally things have changed.
Okay.
But yes, you're right. They're movie characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So obviously the parents like kick their asses because they're trained assassins.
Yeah.
This ends up being recorded and goes viral on the internet, and that kind of
blows their cover.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
And so now they have to go on the run.
Right.
Because they picked up a MacGuffin during their mission in the past.
Yes.
And now that people know where they are, they're after that MacGuffin.
They're coming to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a spy action comedy, isn't it?
Nominally. It's a comedy, is it?
Nominally.
Yeah.
From Seth Gordon, helmsman of Four Christmases, Horrible Bosses, Identity Thief, and Baywatch.
Oh, no.
So that kind of, that sets expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cameron Diaz, Jamie Foxx. Between Ray and Collateral, 2004 would have had you believe Jamie Foxx was on course to become one of the best actors of his generation.
I feel like we have this conversation every time Jamie Foxx is evoked. Yeah, I'm sure we've had this exact conversation before.
On the podcast?
Yeah, where you've been like, man, Jamie Foxx, what happened to him?
Yeah. Because there was that year. He was doubly Oscar nominated, lead and supporting category. And then just didn't live up to
everything he's in now. Like, maybe it was in the context of No Way Home.
Yeah.
Because we were saying, even then, like, in the Spider-Man film that he's actually from, the second one, he plays this, like, weedy, nerdy character.
Yeah.
But in No Way Home, he's just Jamie Foxx.
Yes.
And that seems to be the only thing he does now, is be Jamie Foxx.
Not putting any effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Django, to some extent.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done some good things like Django since then, but he never lived up to the promise. Cameron Diaz has made a lot of stinkers, but she's not a bad actress. And her career started with a bunch of good films, like Being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
She's been in retirement for about 10 years, and she came back for this.
Okay, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because they're like Trek 5 now seems to be in the swing of production. Presumably she's coming back for that too. So I don't know whether this was a case of, since I'm acting again,
Since I'm back.
I may as well find something else to do other than Shrek.
Yeah.
But you're saying it was for this, specifically.
This is the first, I don't know but this is the first thing that's come out since her return. Yeah.
Okay, alright.
From the off, it's ludicrous, with a plane blowing up, then crashing into a mountain.
CG, very CG.
Very
plane.
CG, which triggers an avalanche that the central duo survives.
I was just watching that, that CG plane crash where they're like sliding down the mountain and pieces of the plane are flying off and everything's burning and they're like, oh god, I'm just thinking, like, we managed for decades without CGI in films.
Yeah.
What happened? What changed? Why is it all of a sudden that this is just like, oh yeah, you just have to put up with us trying to do CG like on a budget that we can't afford it, you know?
Cheap. That's it. It's just cheap.
But it's not cheap because it looks cheap. It looks like they can't afford it.
No, it looks cheap. Yeah, but that's the thing. They're not bothering to. Yeah, the budget's not there for it. But it's cheaper to do that than to actually crash a plane into a mountain.
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, go back to 90s films. Like they were kind of basically doing this shit.
Yeah,
and Nolan's the only guy still doing it. Yeah, one imagines it's intentionally over the top, but there's no fun in it.
No.
Plus, it's not funny. Plenty of gag reflex, as you might expect.
Yeah.
As well as tired old moments like, you know, the parents singing an old, like, 80s song in the car, I think maybe even 90s, while their kids cringe in the backseat and think they're dorks.
Yeah.
The action's uninspired, down to the knackered old trope of upbeating.
There
you go. Yeah. They do that a few times in this. The supporting cast boasts some talent, including Carl Chandler, Glenn Close, and Andrew Scott. It depressed me that Carl Chandler was in it, but then I remembered he's in Lanterns coming up, which, okay, maybe that'll be good.
Yeah, I think he was in like some of the Godzilla films as well, right? He's he has previous.
Yeah. But the future holds promise.
Okay.
Glenn Close has been in some poop of late, but still bleak in the context of her career.
Was she in Brothers? She might have been the mother in Brothers.
Oh yeah, I think you said she was.
Yeah.
Also, she in The Deliverance last year, and she's done some poop lately.
Yeah. Why? What's wrong, Glenn Close?
Maybe it's just that thing of like older actresses. There's not many great roles for them, you know.
Okay.
And God knows why Andrew Scott is slumming it in something like this. Like he's sort of a man of the moment, isn't he?
Like hot off the heels of both All of Us Strangers and Ripley.
Yeah. So there's no need for him to be doing this. So you can only, and it's a relatively insignificant role as well.
Yeah.
So it has to be money, right?
Well, the only thing I can think is that because that character, spoilers, does it matter? Do we care about spoilers?
No.
Like, through the whole film, you're led to believe that character is the villain.
Yes.
And then, as second act rolls into third act, it's revealed, no, he's not the villain.
Yeah.
Even though his behaviour is, like, telling you, oh, I'm the villain going to, like, get them.
Yes.
All of a sudden, at the very end of the film, it's like, oh, no, I was actually, like, helping you the whole time.
It's like the inverse of his role in Spectre, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, but even then, you know he's the bad guy.
Oh,
because it's Andrew Scott.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you cast him in that role if he's not a bad guy?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
great. It'd be like an old Columbo episode, and at the beginning it'd be like guest starring Robert Vaughn. It's like, I wonder who the killer is.
Yeah, so I don't know whether the idea was like, oh, we're going to cast the guy where people believe that he's the villain.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whether, because Carl Chandler turns out to be the villain, and in the beginning he's framed as their handler. He's a good guy.
You think he dies.
Yeah,
so that's the twist, is that he's alive and that he's the villain. Yeah.
Would you, if Carl Chandler was in something, would you assume that he's going to be like a surprise villain?
Ambiguous.
Okay.
There's nothing, because like he plays... His big role is Friday Night Lights, where he just plays like a decent guy.
Yeah.
But not like I don't know, it's hard to explain. Not the kind of decent where if he's in anything you go, oh, he's obviously the good guy. Is a human being, but there's a fundamental decency to that character. In Game Night, he kind of turns out he's a piece of shit in that, right? Like, not a bad guy, but... So, I don't know. There's mixed, I suppose.
Okay.
Early on, after Fox and Diaz have been retired for 15 years or whatever it is, they get into that fight that reactivates the inner action hero, which then fucks up their cover life and plot. It's The Incredibles, basically.
Kind of.
Except
the kids aren't in on it.
No. And except in this, when their muscle memory is initiated... They snap straight back into badass mode.
Yeah.
The Incredibles knew that things ache.
Yes.
I mean, The Incredibles does everything better, but then it's The Incredibles. They end up having to flee to the UK to find Cameron Diaz's mother. Upon their landing, there's a strain of Anglophobia or anti-British sentiment.
They had the nerve to take the piss out of a full English breakfast.
Yeah, that crossed the line for me.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, it's a very shallow American view of our country. It's the bad teeth kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'll admit there was a reflexive instinct that started to mentally collate anti-American jabs. It's like, all right, come on over here.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's fine. We shouldn't be pansies or snowflakes like the other side.
Okay.
But yeah, they make fun of full English breakfasts.
Yeah. Even service station full English breakfasts, which is what they're depicting specifically. Even that, when you're in the mood for it,
there might,
like nothing else
there
will
might
work.
Fundamentally be no such thing as a bad English breakfast. Maybe there is. But yeah, and when it's delivered to them, it's not like it's a rancid. It looks delicious.
Yeah,
but it's the fact that it's so fatty and everything. Americans like, oh my god, like, oh, fuck off back to America.
What was it say? They've got some fucking nerve, haven't they? Being like, oh, fatty, greasy food.
But it's those type of Americans that are like, oh my god, oh, they're fat. They're California Americans.
Yeah.
And they also cast a miserable obese woman to play the server. It's like, that's their view of
but
British
that's just
women.
Being accurate.
No, that is accurate, but there's a cartoonishness to it.
Yes, of
do you know
course.
what I mean?
Yeah.
They lift a bit from Die Hard for the climax, but it's unclear whether that's intended homage or just rip-off.
Which bit?
Well, okay, so there's a wimpy Brit actually called Nigel, played by Jamie Demetriou.
Oh, okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
And he wants to be a spy, but he's like the IT guy for MI6.
Yeah.
He's sitting in his car waiting to be useful when he sees the evil hacker, a girl no less, getting in a van, and then he smashes into it with his car, knocking her out, which is Argyle from the end of.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the fact that, in films when there's a female in, the hero troop, and there's a female villain, there's going to be a fight.
Yes.
It's almost like, wimpy guy, a woman has to be his.
Yeah.
Like, that's his.
It's the only arena in which he has kind of a chance,
Yeah. In Die Hard, unfortunately, it's black on black. But it's more that, like, he's the hacker, so Argyle can take him because he's not a physical threat,
Yes.
And that was the beauty of, like, that time, is you didn't think, really, black on black.
Yeah.
Like, no, you just thought, that's, like, on his level. The film gets distracted with the mother-daughter storylines between Close and Diaz and her daughter, but you find out that was the point, apparently, of the film.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of a weird thing. It's unfocused, it's not handled well, it takes a while for the whole thing to get going in the first place, and it could easily have been trimmed to 80, 90 minutes. I won't deny there's some chemistry between Diaz and Fox. I tried to enjoy it on its level, but there are perfectly good films on its level.
Yes.
It's no excuse to be rubbish.
No.
It's not the kind of film that does damage to its performers, maybe Glenn Close aside. It's not abysmal, it's just remarkably unremarkable. And just as I was thinking I could see it getting a sequel, they tease a sequel.
Yeah.
And I can see this franchise unfurling like the Fokker series.
Right. Okay.
So, like, we've met her mum, the follow-up is going to be her dad, and then if it comes to it, there's Jamie Foxx's parents.
Yes.
Franchise. So, no, just rubbish.
Okay.
Yeah, you agree?
Yeah, I think there was like one or two moments where it didn't get a chuckle out of me, but I was like, yeah, okay. Like, sometimes things kind of land.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like, there's a moment where I think they're in the airport on their way to Britain, and their son, obviously, he's like, he's anxious, he's freaked out because his parents have just
sprung this on him.
Yeah, they literally ripped him out of school and being like, right, we're going to fly to the UK now.
Yeah.
No idea what's going on because they're being lied to.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like panicking, and they're like, "All right, are you all right?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I just think I'm airsick." And they're like standing in line in the terminal.
Yes.
So Jamie Foxx just kind of like gently kind of like puts his hand on his shoulder and goes, "We're not in the air though."
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like a raucously funny joke, but it wasn't like a gag reflex moment. It was a bit more. It's a bit drier than that.
Yes.
So there's like occasional moments where I was like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I think there are even shit comedies. They will get one or two chuckles at you just because it has to. And some laughs are instinctive. It's like a jump. It's like, it doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's a funny film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to chuckle at like a stupid fart joke or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not to recommend it.
No, I wouldn't recommend it either. I agree with you that it's not good, but it's not like it's not offensively not good.
It's not trash. Again, like if Elevation was 10, this is like 9.
Okay. On
the worst of the year so far. So it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
Flight Risk.
Okay.
You want to explain the premise for this one?
I shall. Mm-hmm. Mel Gibson film, right?
Yep.
Yeah, another Mel Gibson film.
Directed film, yeah.
Directed film. He's not actually in it.
He's not in it.
Mark Wahlberg is in it, though.
He is.
Along with 2 other people.
Michelle Dockery and Topher Grace.
There you go. Topher Grace is a witness, isn't he, in some sort of like mob trial thing.
He's a fugitive that they want to use as a witness.
Like the film starts with him in hiding, but then they like capture him.
Yeah.
So they're going to take him back to the States. He's going to testify in court.
Yeah.
And he's going to get protection as a result of that. So she like hires like a private plane to fly them back, piloted by Mark Wahlberg. But it becomes very clear very quickly that Mark Wahlberg is in fact not the pilot.
Yes.
He is an assassin hired by the mob boss to take out the witness.
Yes.
And the whole film is basically set on that flight, isn't it? It's like a little... Well, it is a bottle thriller. I was going to say like a plane thriller, but no, it's a bottle thriller.
Cabin thriller.
A cabin thriller, because you're literally just in the plane in the sky.
Yes.
And given that the film is about 90 minutes and the flight in the film is about 90 minutes, I thought, it's going to be real time as well. That's kind of interesting. But it's not really.
Not exactly.
No.
It's close to it.
Yeah, but
not really.
It never seems to know that it's basically real time. Like the film is just playing out as a film would.
Yes, it doesn't kind of signal to you that that's kind of what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yes, but it easily could have done that. Like that's oh, we're in a plane, right. Things that are like spiraling out of control. Obviously, we'll do this in real time then. That adds like a nice dynamism to it. But also, yeah, a decent Hitchcockian premise to start with, right? It's all on this plane, and like, who is this guy, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But very poorly realised.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, because I wasn't like excited for this.
No,
but
we're like
right at the start of the year, so I thought, maybe this will be the first good film I see this year. Alas.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot about it. Obviously, the reviews were bad. But it's kind of like, oh, Mark Wahlberg kind of playing a psycho on a... like, I'm down for that, you know? Well, the tagline of the film is, y'all need a pilot. It promises B-movie hijinks, right? It's kind of saying it's silly, sort of self-aware. And while the 85-minute runtime is spot on, it doesn't live up to that.
No.
It wants to be a 90s action throwback, with one straight character, one villain, and one comic relief. A motor-mouth comic relief in the manner of Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours, for instance.
Or just Eddie Murphy.
Played here by Topher Grace, but it's not funny. The first joke is about a bedspread being crusty, and that sets the tone, really.
Yeah.
Michelle Dockery is playing the straight man, but she's very flat and boring. Mark Wahlberg, in general, has been a major letdown for me. So again, had a great start with Boogie Nights, went on to become a leading man, and one that had promise, I would say. The remake of The Italian Job isn't a masterpiece, but he has a confident, even intelligent quality in that, which was encouraging. He's brilliant in The Departed, for which he was Oscar nominated. His films with Peter Berg are decent, so Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day, the latter of which I'm quite a fan of. And then mixed in there are Three Kings and The Fighter, which sounds like a good hit rate. But considering the number of films he's made, these are flukes.
I mean, you're talking the last two Michael Bay Transformers films as well, and like there's other things as well we could throw into the
Pain and Gain.
Pain and Gain, it's like, no, he's actually not.
He's not. Doesn't make that many good films.
Yeah.
He's playing crazy, taunting baddie here.
Yeah.
He isn't exactly going for subtlety, which is fine, leering at Michelle Dockery and drawling with his big fake Southern accent, which then switches to a New York accent. Hey, fucking, I'm work for the mafia, that kind of thing. Both of which are written with cliches.
Yeah.
They almost certainly let Wahlberg riff. It doesn't yield much fruit. It's madness as written by a teenager.
Yeah.
And doing the Joker badly is a particularly sour flavour of bad, I would say.
Yeah, and it just seems to be like... he's constantly like making reference to the fact he's going to rape them both as well.
Yeah.
He never says, I'm going to rape you, but he's like, oh, you know, it's very clear from the language he's using that that's what he's implying.
Yeah. A lot of people have said it's nasty. I can't say I didn't feel the nastiness.
No.
There's another film that we'll be doing, either next episode or the one after, another film we'll be doing, where it's been criticised for being icky or nasty, and I just think culture's kind of lost its balls a little bit.
Okay.
So I kind of think, this is typical villain stuff. It's not that gratuitous, you know, he's improvising, and that a villain with, hey, I'm gonna fucking bend you over and give you my love. It's that sort of thing, isn't it? Yeah, but even as he's annoying, he's still pretty much the best thing in the film.
Yeah. Do you think the haircut was his idea?
I think it might have been. Because, he actually shaved his head.
Okay.
But, because he's balding, the guy. But it's balding in a way that no one goes bald.
No, it's basically like the entire top of his head is bald, but there's like hair on the side.
Yeah, which obviously there are people with bald crowns that have hair on the side, but the way he's done it is not organic. It's a bloke that's taken a razor to his head.
Yeah.
You know? Which maybe that was the point, like, oh, I'm crazy, I just shaved my head arbitrarily. The film also features the unmistakable voice of Leah Remini. Okay, been a while.
Yeah, she kind of like, she left Scientology.
Yeah.
Like a few years ago.
Yeah, her career now is sort of debunking that. And
yeah. And like I said, I don't think she's done anything since, really.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, this is sort of the first thing.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Because it's a distinct voice, even if you don't know her name.
Yeah, you know her. You know it's the King of Queens woman, definitely. Yeah. And then we have Hassan, this guy over the line trying to put Dockery at ease by hitting on her as he guides her to the ground. He's kind of the Sergeant Al, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the idea.
I was convinced... Well, I was confused because I thought, well, this Hassan fella, he's obviously going to be a bad guy.
Well, that's just your racial prejudice.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Plains,
mistake.
Arabs,
Yeah, she should be smarter than this.
Exactly. Hassan. Sorry, can you put Harry on, please?
Yeah, no, I thought, like, well, yeah, he's just obviously going to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
Partially because he's so upfront with the flirting.
Yeah, it's like he's so nice.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Because there's no sense of, like, it's not as if he's, like, calming her down and then she's, like, responding well to it. So he's like, oh, well, I'm going to be a bit flirty with you then.
Yes.
There's no kind of like organic
development. Yeah, not like John McClane and Al.
No,
Yeah.
Like their flirting was very organic.
Well, it kind of is flirting though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I think he calls him babe in that sort of New York
Yes.
way. And at the end, they just fucking hugged. You know? And there's like a homoerotic thread through.
No,
these things,
definitely.
yeah.
But yeah, when because it's basically like, hello, my name's Hassan. I'm going to like help you land the plane,
Then take you out to dinner.
and also I'm going to take you out to dinner. You up for that?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, this is like quite full on.
It's almost like I mean, I don't know if the film has been accused of this, but it's quite sexist in a way. It's
Yeah.
like it's a woman, so it instantly becomes about going on a date rather than just banter.
Yeah.
You know. So
No,
yeah.
exactly. But she responds really well to it, which
Yeah,
is
she's up for it.
interesting.
But that's the thing. Mel Gibson is kind of an old school right wing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the type of film where she's offended by that. It is going to be like receptive to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's a middle ground between being
course there is.
offended and just being completely receptive.
Well,
to
that's
it.
the thing, because he just comes across as inappropriate
Yeah.
and annoying. And when he does eventually show up, just a goofball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he pissed me off, I have to say. He's like, how forward of you? Like,
Yeah.
how presumptuous of you?
But that's what confused me, because it's like, okay, well, he's going to be like a villain reveal.
Yeah.
But we've already had the Mark Wahlberg villain reveal, and they're building up to a villain reveal with Leah Remini.
Yes.
And then that ends up being like a
other
misdirection
guy.
because it's actually the head of the agency,
Yeah.
Leah Remini gets killed off screen.
Yes.
It's like 3 villain reveals. This is a lot for the film
Right.
to be juggling, and then of course I was completely wrong about.
No, he's sincerely just like this creepy guy.
Yeah.
Who's trying to, yeah.
Which felt underwhelming somehow. It was like, oh, I guess
Yeah.
he is just honestly
He's just a
like
guy.
hitting on her and everything.
Yeah. Luckily, we're never subjected to their date.
No.
Or them walking off to their date or anything.
Oh no, this is very much one of those films where like as soon as the action is over, the film is done with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it has to be commended for that. It hits all the usual beats. Topher Grace is a bad guy, but not really a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's like, he's the guy that like does accounts for the mob. He's
Yeah.
that kind of bad guy. He has a tearful lament on choosing the dark side as he's dying, asks the hero to visit his mother, a hero whose last assignment ended disastrously, and again, all cliches.
Yeah.
He and Dockery start at loggerheads but learn to trust each other over the course of the film. And it's not nearly long enough for her character to start confessing and confiding in him, or to even start caring about him.
Or to even start liking him.
Yeah, which like by the end, it's like, I will protect this guy, I like him, I care about him. It's like, how's that happened?
Yeah.
And that's happened because that's what happens in these films.
Yeah.
That's why it does it, because these films do that.
Yeah.
It's a step down in scale for Mel Gibson after Braveheart, The Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto, and Hacksaw Ridge. Yet another director following that path. One understands why his opportunities may be limited in the industry, but he was Oscar nominated for Hacksaw Ridge years after his tirade.
Yeah, but I don't think people were thrilled about that, right?
Well, it was kind of like the industry going, all right, second chance. But now he's a Trump guy.
Ah, yeah.
And The Don has made Mel Gibson one of his emissaries to Hollywood, along with Stallone and somebody else.
Okay.
Which definitely factors into the 20-something percentage on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
you can't...
Divorce that.
No.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of a reflection of the world today, isn't it? Like, you can't think of things in a vacuum anymore.
No. And Mark Kermode called it one of the worst films he's ever seen.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. He did that after bitching about the political situation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Gibson's MC. No, he wants you to spy for him. That's it. He's planting one of his spies in Hollywood. Which is just silly and, yeah, shame on him.
Yeah.
Like, one of the worst films he's ever seen. I remember a review of, I think it was Knowing, a shitty Nicolas Cage film from like 2009 or whatever. And the guy who was sitting in for Simon Mayo, says it's one of the worst films I've ever seen. He's like, oh, come on. Said it's just middle of the road rubbish. It's not one of the worst films ever. And now he's just doing that.
Yeah.
And-
well, this, as will become clear,
Yeah.
this isn't even the worst film we're going to be talking about on this episode.
Sure.
You know?
Again, I'll get back to the worst. There's a lot of quite bad films this episode.
Yeah.
This is like 7.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, it's worse than the other two, but yeah.
Yeah, like we're going down basically the whole episode in terms
Yeah,
of
yeah,
quality.
yeah.
And this is only like at this point in the episode. It's not one of the worst. I mean, this is like hot off the heels of how many bad films in 2024?
Right.
Like we recently did our best and worst episode and we said like we struggled with both lists.
Yes. A lot of stinkers.
A lot of stinkers in 2024.
Yeah, this-
So, and I don't even know, like, even if you were to just think about Flight Risk in the context of 2024 films, I don't even know if this would be in the bottom
It wouldn't
10.
figure.
It wouldn't figure at all.
It would have figured into my like list of just all bad films from the year.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely not bottom 10. It's a run-of-the-mill rubbish thriller. It's not that bad. It's just bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not lashing back at the backlash because of the culture wars. Honestly, it's just a bit rubbish. It's not
Yeah.
offensively awful.
No, because it started out like, all right, I'll see what this is. And
Yeah.
then, like, I think when it gets to, like, 50 minutes to an hour in,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, okay, I'm bored of this now.
Well, saying, yeah, I was kind of curious how things would pan out. I mean, I knew, but I won't pretend I was completely disengaged.
Yeah.
I was quite interested. There's a sequence where the plane's plummeting to the ground. It has to be the longest descent I've ever seen. They just keep resetting the distance. It's so obvious, right? It could be mistaken for parody. Like, it's very on the nose. Like, no, you were close and now you're up there. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, Naked Gun.
Yeah.
There's-
And it's also a case of as soon as they, like, try to correct the plane, they correct it instantly.
Instantly.
There's
They pull the rudder and it just goes.
there's no, like, straining against the momentum of the plane. It's just like, oh, whoop, yeah, it's straight now.
Yeah, exactly. There's a very poor CGI moose, which needn't even be there to boot.
We're gonna...
Yeah, I don't know whether we just need to stop talking about
Yeah,
it.
what do we do about this? Because this is... It's a problem, isn't it? Because we talk about it every episode of this
I know.
point.
I feel compelled to keep flagging it up because there are things that do it well. Because there are things like True Detective that did it. And I was like, oh, the look, like the cinematography for the first season of that was beautiful, amazing. And like now for the fourth season, shoving in a CGI reindeer, it lessens it instantly. And because Severance, there are goats, and the genuine goats. Again, I know goat is not a moose, or a giraffe, or a dragon, or you're getting the real dragon. But still, it looks so much better when it's a real thing.
And also, they didn't even need a moose.
No, that's the thing. It needn't even be there to boot.
Yeah.
It's just, it's to show he's in Alaska. But I kind of got that from the freezing cabin and the snow and all that kind of thing.
And the fact that, less than 2 minutes later, when the authorities break into the cabin, they go, oh, so you were hiding in Alaska then?
Yeah, God, you led us on a merry chase to Alaska. Look at camera, you know. Also, it mines New Order's Blue Monday for content quite a lot for some reason.
Okay.
They play that early on and then Wahlberg just keeps quoting lyrics from it.
Do you think that's just a case of... Because I can't imagine this was an expensive film.
I
can't
have
imagine
thought
they didn't have much money to spend on it. So do you think that was a case of, well, we got the license for a song, so we're going to use that song?
Probably.
Yeah.
Usually in these things, the immediate crisis, so landing the plane, is resolved. Then there's like one final bloody, barely conscious interaction with the villain, isn't it? In like the debris of the plane. Wahlberg just dies here as they're landing.
Yeah.
He just gets sucked out and gets run over by an ambulance. It just like happens, which is different, you know? That's something different. But it does eat its cake, because the whole thing is Michelle Dockery's character isn't like him, and no, I won't kill him.
Yeah.
So the film just kills him for her.
Yes, exactly.
I ran out of patience, around the hour mark, but it's only 85 minutes. If you're getting bored 2/3 of the way into a film like this, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
But you don't have to stick around much longer. That's kind of the saving grace.
Yeah,
You know?
I suppose, yeah.
It's rubbish. One of the worst films ever made, no. And yeah, I'd be surprised if it shows up as one of the worst of the year.
Yeah.
That's Flight Risk.
Yep.
Here. It's a film called Here.
Ah, okay.
You're probably familiar with the conceit, if you haven't seen it. It's a reunion of Robert Zemeckis, Tom Hanks, and Robin Wright. They're the headlines, but also writer Eric Roth, DP Don Burgess, and composer Alan Silvestri. From the off, the score and the trailer actually tells us this will be an attempt to capture some of that Forrest Gump feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to explain what it is?
Yeah, I think Sam's, ughness will become clear as we're talking about this.
Yeah, no, I hate this film.
Okay. All right, so the film is basically, it's adapted from a graphic novel, right? I think a well-regarded graphic novel.
Yeah.
The gimmick of the film is the entire thing is a single camera angle.
Yeah, a locked-off shot.
A locked-off shot, and rather than cutting to different shots, we get different time periods that kind of are layered on top of each other.
Yeah.
So the main story kind of follows Paul Bettany's family, which, his son grows up into Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
They're all kind of living in that house together. But then there are also other stories taking place. Like occasionally they'll fade back to like Native American times.
Yeah.
Then they'll kind of jump forward a little bit to like a black family that lives in the house after them.
Yes.
There's also other people that it's kind of focusing on, and I think the idea is that it's basically just like here are all of the different stories that have taken place in this small corner of the world.
Throughout all of history.
Throughout all of history. Because, obviously, in a film like this, the final thing they do is break the conceit.
Yes.
So it's like Robin Wright and Tom Hanks now in old age are kind of in that house together. Robin Wright's got dementia at this point. She doesn't remember anything really. So he brought her back to the house to be like, remember everything that happened here? And she
audience.
We'll come to all of that. And she has a moment of lucidity where she's like, oh yeah, "You're my husband. This
Yeah.
was my house. I lived here." And the shot kind of like
Floats away.
floats through the window up to the street where you can see all of these houses around them.
Right.
And I think what I took from that shot, and I imagine what the film is trying to say, is like, this is where you were. Look at all of the other stories.
This is just one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world is full of wonder and sadness and pain and happiness. And
Sam didn't resonate with it for some reason.
No.
Let's go into it.
Well, the CGI is pretty poor, which is odd, considering Zemeckis has often been considered a pioneer in that field.
I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously, like the quality of the CG is going to be relative to the budget they had. And I don't know if this was a big budget production or not.
You have to assume it is, considering Hanks, right?
Yeah, Hanks and Zemeckis and all of these other people as well. But then again, like, how much does Tom Hanks cost these days? How much does Robin Wright cost these days?
I don't know.
Paul Bettany and lots of like big names in this. But I think a lot of the CG that I noticed, it was more its application than its quality.
Okay.
Like there's a moment where like Robin Wright sort of comes, like she approaches the camera. Obviously they don't know the camera's there.
Yes.
But everything is staged around that shot because the film doesn't work if they don't do it like that. So she kind of approaches the camera and she's looking off into like the kitchen that we can't see. And all of a sudden she like ages like 10 years.
Yes.
It like fades into like an older version of herself. And it just looked really janky and shoddy.
Yeah.
And considering that the film very early on establishes a very elegant way of like transporting you into different time periods, where don't look at me like that. The audience can't see that.
Well, no, I was going to say something. I wasn't just going to let. No, I wouldn't agree that it's elegant, but continue.
Okay, I thought it was elegant because it's basically these like frames within the frame that kind of fade in. So you'll see the window in the background, but then they'll kind of fade in over the top of that.
Yeah.
Like that window from 150 years ago.
Yes.
So you'll be in Tom Hanks's house and Tom Hanks is in the foreground, but through the window you can see, was it Benjamin Franklin?
Yes.
Yeah, you'll see Benjamin Franklin building his house in the background through like a frame, like a white frame that's superimposed on the image.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so they're like, I imagine that's lifted from the graphic novel where like these kind of frames are like windows into other time periods. So for the film to just do these like shoddy CG transitions, it's like, well, this isn't the language you've taught me so far.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't fit in with what you've done so far.
Right.
So it's just bizarre. Like those moments I just found bizarre because like they don't look good and it doesn't fit in with what you've already established as the visual language of the film. Yeah.
The de-aging's uncanny as well.
Yes, it is.
There's even a CG item that bookends the film. So, like Gump. In Gump, it's the feather. And that's fine. Like, that film has problems, but you do feel for those characters. And there is a sense of a connected universe in Forrest Gump. In this, it's a bird. And you feel like it's just there to falsify circularity.
Okay.
So it made me think of Stuart Lee. Like, at the end of the show, I will repeat the phrase carpet remnant world, and that will give the illusion of structure.
Right.
Also, a feather than a bird. Is that a tacit claim that this is fuller than Forrest Gump?
Well, it's like there's a few famous examples, but I think one that I remember is it the 1998 Godzilla where Godzilla eats a shark?
Right.
And it's like, oh, this is better than Jaws.
Fuck you, Jaws.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Or is it just another false implication of circularity, but this time on the meta level of the director's filmography?
Okay.
He's like going, I've come full circle now.
Right,
It was a feather in Gump, now it's a bird, you know? Its tone is old-fashioned, broad, humanistic appeal, but it reads as cloying and artificial, like a bucket of hermesitas. The timbre is theatrical, stagey, with big performances and line readings. It's that pre-James Dean acting from the 50s on back.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it given the setup, but there's way too much going on. Yeah, based on a graphic novel, like you said, and as far as I know, it's faithful, but it feels like an overcompensation for a locked-off angle. Stuff it with content and cuts and transitions.
Yeah, and I think that's where the film kind of broke down quite a bit for me. Because I won't lie, that opening sequence where it starts in dinosaur times and then you have those like fade-ins.
Yeah.
And you kind of see all of the different time periods like fading into each other before the story starts properly.
Right.
I was ready for the film at that point.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you pitched it to me.
Yes.
You said, oh, it's this film where it's one locked-off camera angle and there's all these different time periods.
I was surprised you hadn't heard of it, because this is a very Jordan film on the page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. You said that to me, and I was like, ooh, okay.
Yes.
And then you just went, no.
Yeah, no, honestly.
Don't get excited.
Yeah,
but I saw it, and I watched the opening sequence. I was like, no, I'm ready for the film
Okay,
now.
but that's the thing. It's being impressed by the technical the technique.
Yes.
Rather than, like, why.
Yeah,
But we'll get to that.
because nothing had actually happened by that point.
of
It was
course,
just the
of
film
course.
being like, oh, look,
Yes.
unique idea. And I'm like, yeah, I like unique ideas.
Sure.
But yeah, obviously you've got all of these different time periods, and one would think if you're going to show all these different periods of time, the film is going to justify why those periods of times are being shown to
What's
you.
the mission statement?
Obviously, Paul Bettany makes sense because he's the father of Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks is the guy that we're bookending the film with.
Yes. It's a family.
It's a family, yeah. So that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got stuff like, you've got all of like the Benjamin Franklin stuff, which I think we only see like 3 or 4 times throughout the whole film.
They feel like little, he's like the comic relief almost. There's always like a little punchline to those bits.
Yeah.
There's like light-hearted thing to kind of break up the non-light-hearted
Yeah,
stuff.
it's just like a little vignette
Yeah.
with Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so the film's going to justify why we're seeing Benjamin Franklin. And I think the only way that it does that is they live opposite his house.
Right.
They live on a street which is like, oh, the famous thing about this street is that's Benjamin Franklin's old house.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's kind of weak, but
Well, yeah.
at least they've acknowledged that there's some sort of connection.
Sure.
And then I think in the Native American times, something gets like buried, like someone dies and they get buried with some sort of artifact. And then later in the film, an archaeologist comes around to their house and goes, "Oh, we found this artifact, this necklace on this site. So we think this place is of significance." And you're like, okay. Again, that goes nowhere, but the two periods are linked. It's a tenuous link, but they are linked.
Yes.
Then there's a subplot with the guy that invented the lazy boy.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
That literally goes nowhere, from what I remember. That is not connected in any way to anything.
Not that I can remember, no.
Maybe at one point in the film, Paul Bettany has a lazy boy.
That might be it.
I don't even remember if that happens.
Yeah.
But that's how tenuous the connections are at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, there's this subplot where... And it's not even as if like, oh, it's thematically relevant because they're going through a difficult time. That whole storyline with the lazy boy stuff, it's just success after success after success.
Yeah.
It's a young couple that genuinely love each other and never stop loving each other. And every step he makes towards getting the lazy boy into production, he succeeds.
Yes.
So there's no struggle. It's just...
But that's the thing. It's that because of the tone of the film, and that it's like the 50s, isn't it?
Yeah.
That bit especially. It's performed like it's the Honeymooners or something, and you're kind of waiting for the scene to break. You're waiting for that to crack.
Yeah.
Because it's artificial. It's, hey, honey, I just devised this brilliant... You're like, it's like a commercial. It's like, when does the... You know that Kevin Can Fuck Himself, that sitcom?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
it's like a sitcom, then when she leaves the set, it becomes like a single camera, dark.
Yeah.
She's trapped in this thing. You're kind of waiting for that moment, but it never happens. So yeah, it's this uncomfortable... This is artificial. This isn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all just trying too hard to make you cry, basically.
Yeah, I feel like that's what the film wanted from me.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. But the problem is the film is a rolling conveyor belt and too gimmicky and false. You never connect to it. Even a rubbish film can make me well up if it does certain things. That's what we mean by lowest common denominator, right?
Yeah.
And people generally use that term to suggest something that's beneath them, which entirely misses the point. You're part of the low.
Yeah.
You know, put a dog dying of old age in your film, and you'll probably make me cry.
Yeah.
It gets us all. It's easy. That's the criticism. But here is profoundly unmoving because its effort is on its sleeve, on its face, in its bones, all over and through it. It's very annoying. As you might expect then, the film is packed with the most inoffensive, dull, all-American family stuff. Parents getting dementia, teenagers rebelling, going off to college, dad didn't get the promotion. The film's non-linear, the chronology is all over the place, to no end. Yeah, like you said, you'd think it would be bound by common themes across the ages. It's not. It feels more like, oh, enough of this bit now, let's go back to the Native American bit.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the final occupants of the house are a black family. There's a, not scene, because the film doesn't have scenes, it has pre and post transition tableaus.
Right.
Where the father is having the talk with his son about how to conduct himself if a cop pulls him over.
Yeah.
It stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, are we approaching something remotely challenging or divisive here? Resultantly, it felt massively tokenistic, which it was. There's also a brief COVID thread, and the graphic novel came out in 2014. I think it was like an 80s thing.
Okay.
But it all, like the bound one volume came out in 2014. So I'm sure those two elements were tacked on to cover the time since then.
Yeah.
The last decade. I wouldn't be surprised if the black family just weren't in the graphic novel at all.
Okay.
You get so lost in its dramatic issues, you forget that you should be asking, what does this say? And what it says is, if you looked at one point on Earth over millions of years, you'd see different things.
Right, okay.
It's akin to something like Sliding Doors, a film that spans an arbitrary day, whose message is, if you did things differently, things would be different. It's also in the same family as films that follow an object through time and different owners. Yep. People are different in some ways and similar in others.
Yeah.
Or The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which actually the guy who wrote this co-wrote that. Ooh, he lives life backwards. And, yeah.
Right.
There's non-starters. They're uni ideas that feel like they must be interesting and saying something about the human condition. They're not. They don't. Watch a Ghost Story, which deals in similar theme, you know, very different tone, very different concept and everything. But that's kind of one place over centuries, and it's beautiful and haunting and all these different things. I hated this. Like, so far, we're only like 1.5 months in.
Yeah.
It's the worst film of the year that you should know about.
Right. Okay.
We've seen 2 worse films.
Yeah, we're coming to them.
But
Don't worry.
We'll come to them. No, that's not this episode, right?
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it?
Hang on.
We've got so much to talk to you about. We're losing track of everything.
No, thank God it's next episode.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It's next episode, yeah. But
All
yeah,
right.
I hated this.
Yeah, it's not a recommendation from me. Absolutely not a recommendation from you.
Absolutely not, no.
I think there probably are people out there that would gel with it.
Well, like I said, it's lowest common denominator, so
Yeah.
it might get some people. To me, it was just so sickly sweet,
Yeah.
you know? I was like, you're trying too hard.
I guess what I would say is if you're going in because the premise interests you,
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, no, it's...
Because it doesn't make use of it.
No, absolutely not. I was thinking of Stephen Fry talking about, do you feel more sorry for the person that's like, ooh, my leg is hurting, ooh, my arm hurts today, or someone you know is dealing with a terminal illness and not speaking about it?
Yeah.
You feel more sorry for them. This is the former. This is a film going, oh, isn't that sad? Oh, I'm hurting here. Yeah, no, all bullshit.
Okay.
The Night Agent Season 2.
Yeah.
Now, we never reviewed Season 1.
Well, it didn't feel like there was a need
No,
to.
I mean, I never watched it. I think I tried like the pilot and maybe the second episode. So it's a thriller series based on a novel. And my suspicion is that it's not a great novel.
Okay.
It might do the meat and potatoes job, but I based that purely on its similarities to action thrillers I read as a tween. So yeah, I watched the first season to get up to speed. By the end, I started to enjoy it. It just has the right amount of preposterousness,
Okay.
I would say. It's been compared to Homeland.
Is it?
Yes.
I wouldn't say that.
No. With the second season, a few people have said it's like having Homeland back. No.
No.
The thing is, it uses the same font, for one thing.
Okay.
So that invites comparison. And it does seem like it's going to abide the self-contained story structure that Homeland kind of developed as it went on.
Yeah.
But it's not Homeland. It might be unfair for me to compare it unfavourably.
Yeah.
But yeah, the zeitgeist right now is insisting it's a replacement show.
Okay. It's certainly not a replacement for Homeland.
No.
But I think it shares more similarities with Reacher and
The Diplomat.
As well.
I would agree.
Again, they're not as good as either of those shows.
No, The Night Agent isn't as good as either of those.
No, The Diplomat, like, that is a show that I genuinely like, in spite of its like slightly trashier elements. I
think it
it's
knows
it.
it.
Yeah, I think it knows what it is.
Yeah.
And therefore it's kind of able to tailor itself to be the best version of what it is.
Yeah.
And Reacher is a show that I don't really have a problem with. Like, I was surprised when I saw Reacher, because I made an assumption about that show. I was like, oh, that is just like lowest common denominator. That's like a dad show.
Yes.
That maybe like a couple of thousand people are watching. And then I watched it and was like, oh no, like for what it is, it's actually like, it does more than I expected.
It is what it is in the best way.
Exactly. Yeah. Like when there was like bloody deaths and tits and that, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
There's more than I was expecting from this.
But similarly, I don't know whether the novels are any good.
Okay.
You know?
No, exactly.
They're very popular, but I think they're probably pulpy trash kind of novels.
Yeah, no, they probably are.
Yeah.
So this is the weakest of those three.
Yeah.
But it like lives in that camp where it's kind of like slightly elevated trash, I suppose.
That's right,
pulp.
yeah. And if we are comparing it to Homeland, this is more action-oriented.
Definitely.
It doesn't have the geopolitical scope and the trenchant relevance or, frankly, prescience that Homeland had. And all said and done, it doesn't have a carry and it doesn't have a soul.
No.
I don't know how faithful the first season was to the source material, but I believe the second season is an adaptation.
Oh, so this wasn't in the books. Okay.
No, this is, just the one novel, and now every season will be its own story.
Okay.
And it's exciting enough. I don't find the lead, Gabriel Basso, especially compelling.
He's a very functional lead, isn't he?
Yes.
Like, he gets the job done, but it's not a memorable character and it's not a memorable performance.
And given that he's a tall, macho action hero, I don't find him annoying either. So that says something.
Yeah.
Much of the storyline involves Iran, so of course we have to go to Persian Naveed Negaban, also of Homeland.
All right.
If you need a Persian, he's your guy. He's in everything where there are Persians.
Yeah.
It's a Sean Ryan show, hence Jay Khan's popping up in it.
Yes, Sean Ryan of The Shield fame, which is not going to mean anything to anyone other than us, because no one has watched The Shield.
And Sean Ryan hasn't lived up to The Shield.
No.
Admittedly, it's a hard one to top.
Yeah.
But nothing he's done since has been of particular note. If anything, it's been bad television.
Yeah.
Like, he disappeared into faceless writer-producer territory. The people whose names you never learn, so responsible for things like the Chicago Code and Last Resort. He certainly never sustained the status of auteur that running The Shield would imply.
Yeah.
I hope this marks something of an upswing. It's not his former heights, but I'd rather he settle here than with SWAT.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I was kind of watching it, and I was much like you. Like, when it was on, I was like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
For what it is, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
And it sort of makes you realise that you do take comfortable television for granted.
Of course.
Because this is a very comfortable watch. Like, it's very easy to binge.
It really is,
and there's no problems with it. Like, all of the edges have been sanded off. It is totally fine.
Yes.
And that's not... I think it's easy to look at a show like that and go, oh, well, it's not very good then. It's like, no, it's like, just to get to this point...
It takes a lot of effort to make it look effortless, yeah.
Exactly,
absolutely.
Yeah. So even if the end product is just fine, you still have to acknowledge that, no, it's an easy watch, and that does mean something.
Yeah, it's competent and professional and unworryingly solid.
Yeah.
You know, with slick, inconspicuous direction and technical work. You don't notice anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't break the mold, it doesn't challenge you, but nothing about it lets the side down. Every constituent element and performer just comes together and works as one like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
It won't go down as one of the all-time greats. It's hard to imagine it getting bad, you know?
Yeah.
It'll be here for a while, it will entertain, and then it will go away, all the while being firmly serviceable.
Yeah, it won't be remembered as one of the greats, but it's one of the most popular, right?
No, yeah, it is, yeah. It's one of the most watched things on Netflix. But that shows, because that's what it's doing.
No, exactly.
I think it would have benefited from being weekly. Having to plough through the 10 for this episode of the podcast didn't help it, I will say.
No, but I do think it's a show that, if not designed to binge, it works as a binge watch.
Well, yeah, because it's easy.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, it occupies similar territories, Reacher and The Diplomat. And that's its level, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, Flight Risk won't show up in the worst of the year. This won't show up in the best.
No.
But it's fine.
It's absolutely fine. I can't speak to whether it's an improvement over the first season.
I think it is.
Okay.
I think the second
you would
season,
know over me.
Yeah. I think the second season is better.
Okay.
Because it's trying to do a little bit more of the Iran. It's tapping into that kind of geopolitics. Not like Homeland.
Yeah.
Because this is more, it's an action show. Homeland had action, but that was a thriller. That was a political thriller show. And this is an action show that's just better than most action shows.
Yes, no, it is, yeah. Because you see you kind of see the Persian side of things a little bit as well, this whole story. Is it Noor? Is that her name?
Noor, yeah.
Noor. She was distractingly pretty, I think.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, very, very pretty. But yeah, no, they're. I mean, you've seen the first season, obviously, like right before this, so you would know. But with me, like when I was watching it, the site that I was watching it on, I put on an episode. I think it was like the third episode. Mm-hmm. I'd seen 2 at that point, so I put another episode on. And I was watching, I was thinking, they like jumped ahead or something. This doesn't seem to be connected at all to what we were just seeing. So maybe it's like a cold open or something. And I think I got maybe like 12 minutes in before I realised it was the pilot. I'd accidentally put the pilot on.
Right, okay.
So it's like, oh, the fact that I didn't even remember that this was the first
It doesn't
season.
leave a lasting impression.
No, it doesn't.
No.
But yeah, I like when I was watching season 2, I got the impression that it was making more of an impression on me than the first season did.
Yes, it's more distinctive, absolutely. Yeah. That's it, really.
Yeah, it's a recommendation, just like don't expect great
it's
things.
a recommendation on exactly the level we outlined.
Yeah.
Okay. Out there.
So we've had here
and
now we're going out there.
Yes. So the first thing to notice is that it's a naff title.
Yeah.
This is a Powys-set crime drama.
Yes.
Martin Clunes doing a Welsh accent, and not a bad one.
Martin Clunes.
Martin Clunes stars as a farmer who ends up in conflict with a drug gang and has to face up to some men behaving badly.
Ah.
Hello.
Ah.
Doc Martin.
Oh fuck! What else was he in?
That's it. I know. There's those three things.
Okay.
From the off, it really wants to establish its sense of place.
Yeah.
So his son has a Welsh flag and a Cymru scarf hanging in his bedroom.
Certainly does.
Do you know any Welsh kid that hung a Welsh flag on their wall?
No.
No. Okay.
No, because like, why?
Yeah. Well, it's like maybe
Like Welsh rugby paraphernalia would have made a lot more sense
Yeah.
because a lot of people do have that kind of
Yes.
shit lying around.
But the
yeah,
scarf
Welsh
is the
flag-
kind of like a, you wear that at rugby matches.
Yeah.
And there's maybe it would be more common in different parts of the country where Welsh, the language, is a little bit more of
Yeah,
a thing.
because I think this is Powys, right? So I think
Yeah.
there is a stronger sense of
Yes.
Wales. There,
Yeah, like we live. South Wales is the least Welsh part of Wales.
Yeah.
Isn't it? But it still feels a bit silly. An elderly woman makes the family some Welsh cakes. But okay, it's only in the first episode, and you can't begrudge it. It's making concessions to mass distribution, isn't it? But it is a Welsh director and production team, so there's a slight whiff of sellout, or
Okay.
or what I'm going to call Taffsploitation.
All right.
If you have a problem taking drama with Welsh accents seriously,
Okay.
you might have a problem.
Yeah, I don't think I had a problem. I mean, the whole cast isn't Welsh. They've got non-Welsh people in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Non-Welsh characters
Yes,
as well.
yeah.
I think the biggest hurdle for me was I know Martin Clunes isn't Welsh.
Okay.
So when he's pretending to be Welsh, I'm going, no.
Which obviously is only a problem for Welsh people. Because
Yeah.
we know British actors being American and it's not a problem for us.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be weird because I think Doc Martin is like, Americans know what that is, and Americans
Okay.
like that. So
like Anglophilic Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like when I was in university, there was like an American who'd come over to like study abroad
Right,
for like
right.
a couple of months, and like her parents, she was saying like, oh, my parents are obsessed with Doc Martin.
Of all the shows, like The Crown, obviously big Netflix international hit. And I know like Great British Bake Off in America is quite popular.
Yeah,
And they like watching some of our shitty reality shows.
yeah.
Doc Martin's not the kind of thing. It's like Last of the Summer Wine.
Well, it was
popular.
at the time. This would have been like
13, 14.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a surprise at the time. But since then, I've heard other instances of Americans going, "Oh, that Doc Martin."
Okay, because it's British.
Yeah,
Yeah, all right.
So it's like, okay, so people know what a Martin Clunes
Okay.
is. So I think even if you said the show has made concessions to wide distribution.
Yeah.
So I think other people might even have a problem. I don't know. Maybe it's just for me.
Yeah.
But Martin Clunes is unknown. Like, the fact he's got a Welsh accent here is different and strange.
Okay,
You know?
I can't say I had a problem because I think he does a good job. If it was a shoddy Welsh accent, that would have been a problem.
Okay.
But I actually think it's all right,
Okay.
And I think mostly the problem with Welsh, because you said with, what was that show called? Black Doves.
Yeah.
There's a Welsh assassin, you're like, no, and I was as well. I think that's only a problem when there's just one Welshie in the cast.
Yeah.
Right? When they're all Welsh, like, okay, you settle into it. I'll admit there were certain scenarios where it was a challenge, like the drug squad gathered to discuss their operation, like, this is Calad, street name special, okay? And it's like, it's the same product, same street level dominance. It's like, this isn't Breaking Bad.
No.
No.
Yeah.
It's a bit bored church, somewhat tonally, mostly visually.
Oh, I thought the show was very boring to look at.
Yeah, it's boring to look at, but it's not quite bored church, I don't think.
Okay.
To me, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, given the fact that like a lot of it is set in like, pubs and rooms and
Farms and just...
Well, yeah, but you've
yeah.
got like the Welsh landscape sprawling out before you.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's not the whole show. Some of it is just like,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
oh, I'm in a room.
Well, some of it's Newport, isn't it? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it's making the most of those visuals.
No,
when
no,
they're
it's
there.
just shot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not... Yeah, absolutely. But I think Clunes' performance helps moderate the drabness. It would be bored church, like I said, visually kind of, not tonally really, because he's kind of witty and a
Okay.
bit charming, do you know what I mean? It's not like navel gazing, like, oh, everyone's depressed kind of thing.
Yeah.
It features an actor named Garen Howell, obviously Welsh, who's one of the stars of the new HBO Max series The Pit.
Okay.
Playing American, and I wouldn't have known. He's good.
Right.
All to say, keep an eye on him. Garen Howell.
Garen Howell.
Garen Howell, yeah, keep an eye on him. The show also features Mark Lewis-Jones, perennial Welshie, Clunes' brother, who was in the Marines.
Yeah, they keep re-establishing
Yeah.
it, don't they?
Clunes' son is played by Lewis Ashbourne Circus, son of Andy, who unfortunately I found rather bland, but did do a convincing Welsh accent. I assumed his relative lack of presence and charisma was down to the limitations of regional casting.
Yeah.
But no, it's because he's a Nepo baby. But yeah, if you watch, you think, oh, he's some Welsh teenage kid that they found. Like, he's not a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
But they got him from the region. But no, he's actually not.
Yeah.
So he did convince me there.
He did convince you, but at the same time, he's not delivering a good performance.
No,
so-
no, but the accent is good.
Okay.
Yeah. And also the first part isn't true anyway about the limitations of regional casting, because we personally know plenty of good Welsh actors, and I shouldn't spread such misinformation.
No.
It's not made clear where Clunes' character has the balls to flush a drug dealer's drugs and stand up to a knife without flinching.
Yeah.
We're meant to sympathise with a local copper who just wants to keep her town safe, but the city cop is right. It's more important to focus on the long term. She's like, we need to arrest these. Like, no, we had this operation in place. We need to let them go so they can take us to the high-level dealers. She's like, no, I got to keep my town safe. He's like, no. And you're like, no, he's right. I'm with him.
It's one of those things where, the point he's making is actually sensible, so they have to make him seem
like a prick.
To balance it out. You know?
I don't believe in the prosecuting drugs in the way we are as a society. But if we're going to do it, he's right, not her.
Yeah.
It's just that it's slow at the beginning, but shit starts popping off toward the end of the third episode. It's not as good as some of its peers, but for me, the plot had sufficient scale and complication and didn't go where I expected necessarily. It's a functional little crime drama.
Okay.
It does the job. I don't know how it's advertising itself, but it's absolutely not a mini-series.
Okay.
It doesn't end, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Not even close. It's setting up for the long term, and that was actually refreshing to me.
Well, that's interesting, because my parents were watching this first.
Yeah.
It was interesting, because we were like sitting down for dinner, and they put on, it was the second episode in fairness, but they put it on. And I stayed there like as long as I could, basically. I was like, I know that like it's 2025 now, we have a clean slate, I need to start watching things, but I'm not enjoying this.
It's amazing to me, the things that you do watch. And this was like a no-go for you.
Well, that's the thing, so I was like, I'm going to take it off the list, I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
And then I think I went, I at that moment I checked the podcast list, and you put out there on there.
Yes.
Fuck, I'm going to have to watch it now. But yeah, they watched it as well, all 6 episodes.
Yeah.
But my dad was convinced there was like another episode due to come out.
Right.
And Mum was like, no, we finished it. And he's like, no, but it didn't end.
No, it doesn't end. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. Like I said, I don't know whether it's billing itself as a miniseries or whether they've openly said, no, we hope to come back for a series too.
Yeah.
But that's so refreshing in this day and age, because everything's a miniseries and everything comes back nonetheless.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice. Like, no, this is the first series.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got
Okay.
for it.
Well, I won't. I don't want to go back to it. I'll be honest.
I probably will.
It's interesting.
Just to see.
Like here, you didn't like more than me.
Yeah.
And out there, I've get the sense that I dislike it more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do disagree.
No. It's just like
here and out there.
Here and out there. Yeah. No. I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, that's the thing, because I'm more out there and you're very much just here.
Shut up.
Come on.
No.
That was so there. All right. Saturday Night.
Okay.
I think we're going to disagree a little bit about this as well. So this is a return to form for Jason Reitman, a partial return to form. It's an immense undertaking, and it's mostly handled with deftness. It has the dynamic camera roving through the environment of Scorsese and the walk and talk real-time, behind-the-scenes spirit of Sorkin.
Okay.
Bit of Birdman with a constant percussion-heavy score. Off the bat, it's reminiscent of Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, a basically forgotten show at this point, but had flaws but a very good pilot.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the first day of Saturday Night Live.
This is like, it's again not real time, but kind of is, because the length of the film matches the timescale covered in it.
Yeah.
But it's basically the 90 minutes leading up to the first broadcast of Saturday Night Live.
Yes, so that they're prepping, things are going wrong, dealing with egos, all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Which, like, is the type of thing that I like the sound of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously I'm a big fan of Sorkin, and this sense of like, oh, it's a bunch of people trying to do a thing in a limited amount of time, and that kind of like controlled chaos that films like that can
and the
have.
behind the scenes thing that he does, like you never get to see this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that kind of insight was like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of on board with this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't dislike it.
Okay. All right, that's it.
I think I didn't dislike it.
Yeah.
I think the problem that I had, because I had a bit of time to reflect on this, because I saw it like when it came out last year, so it's like I think you saw it a lot later than me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem is that for me, the whole film feels like it's very one note.
Okay.
Like the tone and the timbre of it, it's basically consistent all the way through.
Right.
And if you think of like, you used Sorkin as an example there. if you think of like the best episodes of The West Wing, they're not tonally flat. Like they've got
Well, pace-wise, you mean, or do you mean?
I mean, obviously the whole thing is frantic because they've only got 90 minutes left.
Yeah, but are you saying like it was just that it was zipping? There was no lull. There was no like right. Let's slow down here, then speed up again over here.
Yeah,
it was all just.
That's what it felt like to me.
Okay.
The whole thing was like
Fine.
that. But yeah, like think of the best episodes of The West Wing. You know, two cathedrals and In the Shadow of Two Gunmen.
The great thing about Sorkin is that it's like musical rhythms. Yes, it does slow down then stop.
Yeah,
and then now we have the bassoon, Toby. And
yes, exactly. Yeah. Whereas this was just like, right, full speed ahead, go. Okay. And that's the whole film.
I can't disagree with you.
Yeah.
Because I just don't remember it that well. But I can't say it's a problem that I had watching it.
Okay.
My one caveat about this review, I suppose, is that this was one of like the first 3 films I saw in 2025. So it might have been caught up in the rush of like, oh, clean slate, goodwill sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't think it's that. I think I do sincerely like it, but I've only watched it the once.
Okay.
I'm not intimately familiar with Saturday Night Live, but there's fun to be had in the hits and misses of the casting. Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase and Matt Wood as John Belushi on one hand.
Oh god, they were spot on.
They were spot on.
Like having seen footage, historical footage of Chevy Chase from that era, and John Belushi that era, you'd swear it was actually them.
Yeah, no,
like it is fucking
perfect.
Spot on.
Yeah, and it's nice that they like Matt Wood. I don't know who that is. Doesn't have a Wikipedia article. Don't know if he's done anything before.
Yeah,
it's nice that they cast for the role rather than get a famous person to do Belushi.
Yeah,
that was nice. So that's on the one hand. On the other, it's Nicholas Braun as Andy Kaufman.
And
well, I don't. Jim Henson, he doubles up.
Yeah,
but I think as Henson he's fine. But as Andy Kaufman, no.
As Andy Kaufman, no. Yeah. But also, you can tell it's him both times.
No, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Well, Benny Safdie was originally cast to play Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
And that's a much better shout.
Yes,
I would say.
And I can understand, the frustration with. For whatever reason, that fell through. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh shit, we got to find a way of we got to figure out what we're going to do now.
No, they probably thought it would be funny. Like if you recognised that it would be funny, it's not.
Well, it's not. It's not funny. I think because there's nothing else like that in the film.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's like, what was the thing we were talking about recently with that? Where
we'll be talking about it with the next episode.
No. There's a previous example I'm thinking of. I think Rumours, is it?
Okay.
Is that the one where Charles Dance is the president? Yeah. And you said that they said, it's funny that he's using a British accent.
Yeah, but it's not. There's nothing else like that. And if you didn't know that going in, you'd keep wondering.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go, oh, haha, I get it.
Yeah.
It just sticks out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's exactly the same thing.
I agree.
Here.
I agree. That's the biggest problem in the film.
Yeah, because you haven't established this as an intentional...
Yes.
I don't get the sense that this is intentional.
What are the
this
rules?
Feels like a mistake.
Like you said earlier, what are the rules?
Exactly,
yeah. Gabriel LaBelle plays Lorne Michaels, the creator.
There's a lot of people to keep track of. It's a massive cast.
I just remember his name, he holds it all together as the film's front man, I would say. He does guide you through it.
Okay.
It was nice to see that The Fabelmans wasn't a one and done for him.
Yeah.
Same for Cooper Hoffman, son of Philip.
Yeah.
Star of Licorice Pizza. He makes a few expressions throughout the film that uncannily, but happily evoke his father.
Yeah.
Matthew Rhys as George Carlin. He nails some of the facial movements, not quite the voice. It's a very hard voice to do.
Yeah.
But I just like Matthew Rhys. So,
it's good to see
whatever.
Him. But that's the thing. In a cast this size and in a film like this, where the main character is moving to different people to handle different situations... Some of these people are on screen for 3 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't see them that
No, it's
often.
massive because it's all the writers, it's everyone. And it's amazing. We talked about... no, we havenent talked about it yet. But there's something coming up that's like a crux point of rubbish.
Right.
And you had the first Sex Pistols gig with all these people that would go on to success.
Yeah.
Here, it's like, oh shit, Billy Crystal was involved. And it's amazing just how many people that are now ingrained in pop culture were there for the first show, It's interesting, considering the size of the ensemble and the fact that, so many icons are depicted in bit parts. There are unknowns playing big names that you just wouldn't see in any other type of film.
Yeah.
Matt Wood, like I said, as Belushi, and Nicholas Podany, who don't know what that is, as Billy Crystal, who gets the voice perfect, doesn't he? The Billy Crystal. Because of how little time we get to spend with each character, the characterizations are larger than they might otherwise be. It might be necessary.
Yeah.
But I do like the depiction of Belushi as a grunting, coke-snorting man-child that must be placated into every decision.
Yeah. But I think in some instances it works because that's the personality you associate with that.
Yeah, that's it.
With Chevy Chase.
Broad. Yeah.
It makes sense to play Chevy Chase broad.
As an arsehole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's nice how many of the characters have their own internal arcs and stories. I quite liked how they did that.
Okay.
It captures the punk spirit and ethos of young people doing something new. The stress of it is palpable. I thought it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. UK critics don't seem to like it. I don't think you need to be interested in SNL to enjoy it, because I'm not, and I did.
Yeah.
They're all wrong, the UK critics.
I mean, you know, like, it's the same with Steve Jobs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't own anything by Apple. I'm not really invested in that brand, but I liked the film. I remember liking the film when I saw it.
Exactly. And for me, like, the film ends with the first sketch, and after which Chevy Chase says, you know, coming from New York, it's Saturday night, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the look of relief on, like, Lorne Michaels' face as the crowd is getting it.
Yeah.
I felt it watching it, so I can say that it really did that job for me.
I think it's nice because I think you could, if you wanted to have like a screening night, you could watch this film and then run it straight into the first show of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, because we watched the sketch, don't we? And they do perfectly.
It is, it's a perfect replication.
Yeah.
So you can, like, as soon as because this like film basically ends during the opening credits.
Yeah.
To the first Saturday night.
Yeah, the opening credits are the end credits of the film.
Yeah. So you can just like put that on straight afterwards, and you can do like a whole sitting. Yeah. I don't know whether that would enhance the experience.
That'd be interesting. That would be interesting to do that. Yeah. I mean, obviously, but it's not the people we've just been spending the time with.
No, but like they've been invoking the spirit of those people.
No, absolutely.
So spiritually, I think it would be a consistent experience.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I do recommend it. Like I said, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I think that's just because I got tired of it. And like I said, the consistency of its rhythm and its tone and everything.
Yeah.
I thought that it could have benefited from a couple of slower moments. Mm-hmm. But I also kind of understand that, no, this thing has to be chaotic.
Where's the
all the way
time?
through.
Yeah.
And there are other films where the consistency of its chaos has worked to its benefit, like Fury Road and like a Safdie film.
Well, I mean, thinking back on it, there are lulls. Like, there's the point where it feels like it's not going to go ahead.
Yeah.
And then, like, John Belushi's out on the ice rink. And that's kind of a moment of contemplation.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not enough. You're saying it needed more. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But, it's not quite Coke energy for the whole thing.
No.
It does slow down a little bit. But no, I take your point. I would advise you to give it a rewatch.
Okay.
Try it again, because I really liked it.
Okay.
Maybe I need to watch it again and come closer to you. I don't know. But I feel like we can get closer together here somehow.
Okay. But I think even given the gap between us, we're still both recommending
Absolutely,
it at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay. Silo Season 2.
Yeah.
Okay. The premiere made me think how great a video game it would be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. As she goes into the other silo, you know.
Yeah.
My dreams are like that, basically.
Oh, right.
Vast environments
What, just
unfilled.
with Rebecca Ferguson?
No. I don't think I've had a Rebecca Ferguson dream. But vast environments that unfilled intricate detail. The madder dreams I have.
Okay.
I know visual effects are augmenting everything, but the production design of the show is next level.
Yeah, it really, really is.
You gotta love pure visual storytelling, which the first episode basically is. Steve Zahn is a fun addition to the cast.
Yeah.
I liked him.
I think he'll always be Bad A to me.
Okay, see, I know him from quite a lot before that.
Okay.
He's Daddy Daycare to me. That's right.
Right, okay. But no, it's like there's certain like line deliveries that he has in this, which just makes me think of Bad A.
Yeah.
No!
Yeah, he's very like timid and kind of like, oh, go away. Yeah, that sort of thing. There's always been an element of Lost to this show.
In what way?
Well, mystery for one thing, and
Okay.
like what's going on, but also the inhabitants of the second silo were akin to the others. I would like. There's other people now. We thought we were the only people.
Yeah.
Who also properly showed up in the second season of that show. The season grew markedly worse the more it went on.
Yeah, like I think it was a strong pilot episode, like you said, 'cause it was basically just Rebecca Ferguson exploring that other silo.
Yeah.
Basically in silence for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was just showcasing that character.
Yeah.
Like the skills of that character, because obviously we know that she's an engineer.
Yeah.
And she has to engineer her way across like a gap, and she has to figure out all these things. So it is great visual storytelling and great visual character work as well. And then the second episode is purely set in the original silo, the fallout of her surviving and cleaning. So like from the beginning, it feels like the show's doing exactly what it needs to do.
Right.
And then it does feel like it does lose its way a little bit.
It drags it out.
It's weird because I think the pace of the storytelling in the original silo is fine. I think that story is moving along at the pace that it should be.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree.
But the Rebecca Ferguson stuff is like really taking its time. And my understanding is that in the book that this is based on, that stuff happened a lot faster.
Yeah, so a lot of criticism from people who'd read the book.
Yeah.
Why is this taking so long? Yeah, because it obviously just wants to keep her there for the season, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just feels like, oh, we're still only here with her? Like, all this shit is happening in the other silo.
Because it does reach the point, I don't know whether you had the same thing, but obviously Silo was in my best of the year for the year that the original season came out. And I think I was getting to, it reached the point where I was like at episode 6 or 7, and there are 10 in the season. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of going, am I like misremembering that first season?
Yeah.
Because if it was like this, I'm surprised that I regarded it so highly.
I rewatched the first season just before the second season started.
Okay.
Like, you liked it more than I did. I wouldn't have ranked it as highly, but it is much better. You weren't misremembering it. Yeah, no.
No, and when episode 9 and 10 come around, it feels like it finally gets back to the quality of the first season.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, I wasn't mistaken. The show just got worse for a bit.
The show got worse for a bit. Yeah, it dragged it out. It Lost had a similar problem. It is like, oh, how do we pace? Like, how fast do we reveal and kind of... Yeah, but it does become quite turgid. If they've course corrected now, and it looks like the third season is going to be a flashback season, at least partly.
Which I'm totally up for.
I'm also up for it.
Because there's a scene at the end of the finale which is set during a flashback.
Yeah.
And if the flashback season is going to be like that,
yes,
I'm totally up for it.
Yeah.
It does work.
I think it's been renewed for 2 more seasons, 3 and 4, and then it's ending.
Okay.
Again, like Lost, like they've been given an end date.
Yeah.
If they stick the landing, if it's all gravy from now on, I think the reputation of this show will grow over time.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that there was a bit of a lag there. But I'd still recommend it.
It's interesting because like Severance seems to be... Like, we're going to talk about it one day. I know we've brought it up a couple of times
as soon as it ends, we're going
to talk about it. That's our policy. But needless to say, we're enjoying it.
Yes, very good.
As I think are a lot of people. It
Yes.
seems like now that the second season has started...
It's in the culture properly now.
Yeah, a lot of people are either discovering it or rediscovering the love that they had for it.
Yeah, because it's been quite a while since the first season.
Yeah. It's like 2022 that first season came out. And so that is like probably the best show on Apple at the moment. That's Apple's big show now.
It's the best show at the moment.
The best show at the moment. Before season 2 started, I would have said that that's Silo, which is interesting because I don't think it really has a presence in the culture, Silo.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. It has a little fan community, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it seems like the people that like it have read the books as well. It's a proper little tight-knit community. You know? But that's been an ongoing criticism of Apple is you have these great shows that you just don't advertise.
Yeah.
No one knows about them. And so they just get cancelled, you know?
Yeah.
But obviously this won't be.
Yeah. I do think that I remember one of the things I remember complimenting the first season for was like those first couple of episodes, they focus on characters that eventually die, quite quickly.
Yeah.
Characters that you think they'll have plot armor because they're the main character. They're just dead by the end of the episodes.
Yes.
And so it created like an unpredictability in that world where no one felt safe.
Right.
We're at the point now in the story where it's very clear who the main players are.
Yes.
Rebecca Ferguson is not going to die anytime soon.
No, Tim Robbins
probably isn't going to die anytime soon. Common probably isn't going to die anytime soon.
No, exactly.
So like that element of the show is gone.
Yes.
I know that these people are basically in it for the long haul now.
Game of Thrones, similar. I mean, they still kill people at quite an impressive, but they were like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
They were like, Tyrion's not going to die.
Yeah, we're not going to kill Jon Snow.
Jon Snow's not going to die.
Yeah.
Well, but we do, and then he comes back.
Oh, right.
Or we're not going to kill Daenerys. Like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Ned Stark is your big... Right, you got that, and the Red Wedding, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're clearly like, yeah, absolutely.
No, but I mean, the show is kind of like, it's moving past that point anyway, where like the scale of the mystery is kind of coming into focus now.
Yes.
And just how like fucked everyone is, kind of. So that's sort of becoming like, oh, that's what the show is to me now.
Yeah.
So yeah, the like middle part of the second season was a bit of a challenge.
It's a curve, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's still a good show. I would still like recommend it. I think that it's worth...
Yeah, it's a curve, but one that nevertheless ultimately produces a smile, a happy face.
Yeah, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, because it ends on a high note.
It ends on a high.
Yeah.
So there we go. Okay. Star Trek Section 31. Right, okay, let's just get through this. This is a spin-off of Star Trek Discovery, which is on one of them, isn't it? Which Paramount?
I think they're all on Paramount, right?
Yeah. But
that's their thing.
Yeah,
Star Trek is their franchise.
Thing, yeah. I saw a season of that several thousand years ago.
Right.
Otherwise, I've stayed away from the Kurtzman Trekverse. Honestly, it's not worth giving you the plot.
Really?
Yeah, or any details.
Okay.
Like, I won't waste my time nor yours. It lends itself to, and could do with, an epic takedown, but I feel neither qualified nor bothered. So watch Mike and Rich do it on Red Letter Media.
Yes, yeah.
It's going for Guardians of the Galaxy, and while I'm not a big fan of those films, they have something. This is unfunny and heartless and devoid of personality. Michelle Yeoh's character is a Hitler analogue in this universe. Like, generally. Here, she's just one of the zany members of the Starfleet Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So that's weird. It's the first time I've seen Casey roll since Hannibal, Abigail Hobbs. She was the young girl in Hannibal, which was considered a breakout role, so that's depressing. It's cheap, boring, not quite laughably bad, just a complete waste of time, resources, money, talent, craft, and attention. It's a television it's a television film, and it honestly doesn't feel right to consider it a film. The year's just beginning, admittedly, but so far it's one of the worst, if not the worst. But I genuinely don't think I can think of it in those terms. It's not a film to me.
Oh, really?
It's a long episode.
Okay.
It's not a film. I will not consider it for worst of the year in December. It didn't get a theatrical release. It was straight to Paramount Plus like the rest of the Trek stuff. It's a long episode and so tied in with that universe that it's pretty hard for outsiders to put it in any context. Nobody's going to watch it that isn't already in the mire with this stuff. I'm content to just think of it as an event episode for a franchise of which I'm ignorant, so it's madness that I watched it in the first place. And I'll just start the process of forgetting it now.
Right, okay. I mean, I haven't watched a single episode of Discovery, and I watched this.
Yeah, you have as much context as I do.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a similar thing with Amelia Perez at the end of last year, where it's like, oh, people really hate this. I feel like I'm missing something by not...
That's kind of why I watched it as well. Yeah.
And I needn't. No. I needn't to have watched it.
It's just so rubbish.
Well, I'm surprised because, as I say, I hold my hands up, I haven't seen Discovery at all. Yeah. But I've seen the Red Letter Media reviews of Discovery, I've seen trailers for Discovery, I've seen some content regarding Discovery online.
Some of its vibe is in your brain.
Yeah, I know what it is. I know what it looks like. And I think that's crucial because people talk nowadays about, like, you know, the most, like, expensive shows on TV, the best looking shows on TV, like Game of Thrones, like the Lord of the Rings show. They cost a lot of money.
Yes.
But they look like cinema quality shows. Of course, yeah. I remember Star Trek Discovery kind of being like that. Not on the scale of Game of Thrones, but I remember seeing clips of that show for the first time. And I remember being one of the first shows that I personally saw and thought, oh, that looks like the films.
Okay, back in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I probably would have thought so as well at the time. Like, oh yeah, this is another notch again in television. Yeah. Like, if I went back to it now, I think I might have the same problem with it that I had with Alien, whatever it was, Romulus.
Yeah.
Which is, it's very orangey and very kind of monochromatic.
Yeah, maybe it's like a you know, a PS3 era thing where, like, when you're in the PS3 era, you're like, oh my god, look at this shit. Right. And then you go to, like, the PS5 era, you look back and you're like, oh my god, look at that shit.
Exactly.
So maybe Discovery doesn't hold up. Yeah. But at the time, it looked really good for a TV show. Yeah. So the fact that this looks so cheap.
Rubbish.
Like, genuinely rubbish. Yeah. Like, even the real stuff looks artificial. That's how rubbish it looks.
Yeah, crap.
That was a bit of a shock to the system for me. So I thought, well, if nothing else, you've nailed that. So why does it look so bad here?
And there's nothing about it that is like, oh, we're a film now, so we need to, like, fucking put in the effort to make it cinematic. Yeah. It's not.
No.
It genuinely is like a long episode for a show you haven't watched.
And considering that all of the Kurtzman universe stuff rolled out of the J.J. Abrams films. Yeah. You have a template.
He co-wrote Star Trek. Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah. You have a template of what these films should look like to work off. Yeah. You have 5 seasons of Discovery, and you're using a director that has directed for Discovery. Yeah. How does this look so bad?
It's pants.
Yeah.
It's just pants.
It does. Yeah, it does look. Yeah. It looks really, really bad, and I think they pointed it out in the Red Letter Media review as well. But the post-production cinematography choices, do not help the film at all because there's a lot of, like, artificial zooms that are clearly not in camera. They've been added on the timeline.
Yes.
Because it does, like, the whole film. It does feel like the editors were given the footage, and when they received it, they realized, oh, this looks awful. We need to spice this up a bit.
It seems like it was made to a close deadline. Yeah, you got to finish it. Yeah, so you can't think about, like, that it should be directed.
No,
like, just do it, just make it like television. I'm gonna say about it. I've said everything.
Well, yeah, you're already in the process of forgetting.
I'm forgetting it. Yeah, so it's over for me.
Yeah, I'm surprised that given that you subjected yourself to it, I'm surprised you wouldn't even consider, like, it's not going to be a candidate for worst of the year.
But it's because I can't even think of it as a film. I honestly can't even.
But you do film and TV. That's what's interesting, is that you have a list where you combine both.
That's true. Okay, maybe in the combined list, perhaps. But just thinking of it as like a film, it doesn't even qualify for that.
Okay.
No, it's weird because it's like, you'd think I'm saying it's so bad. Of course, it has to be in there. But it's so bad and so nothing. I just want to forget about it.
Okay.
I don't even want to think about it. Or as a candidate.
But
I want it over.
Yeah, but it's their own fault though, right? Because whereas it probably functionally it is basically just like a feature-length episode.
Yeah.
It's an event episode. They have advertised this and framed this as a standalone film.
It's a movie, yeah.
Yeah, so, take it on the terms in which they want it to be taken.
I don't care, though. I don't care what terms they want me to think of it on.
No.
No, fuck them.
Okay.
It's over. I've forgotten it. What are we talking about?
All right.
We're talking about Wolfman.
Will we?
We are now.
Yes, we were. Yeah, we were talking about Wolfman.
We're talking about Wolfman.
So yeah, Wolfman. Yeah, that's
Wolfman.
Yeah.
What's it about?
It's about.
Don't say Wolfman.
Well, how am I going to describe Wolfman if I can't talk about the Wolfman?
Use your words.
Well, it's directed by Lee Winnell,
Yeah.
who did The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
And
Upgrade before that.
that. But The Invisible Man is the crucial thing, because this is basically, it felt as if Universal went to him and he went, The Invisible Man?
Yeah.
Can you do that, but with the Wolfman?
Exactly, yeah.
So that's what it is.
Yes.
It's his, modern take on a classic Universal monster movie.
Yeah, that'll do, I think. So yeah, watching this, I was thinking of who I'd have selected to make a Wolfman film.
Okay.
Who does this need? What does this character need? Outside of the David Lynch's, that is. Because they would never would have done something like that.
No.
A mainstream Blumhouse-type Wolfman movie. And after The Invisible Man, I'd probably have picked Lee Winnell.
He feels like the right choice.
He's the guy, he's the go-to guy. I'll say off the bat that it's not very good.
No. It's the best, not good film I think we're talking about this episode.
Yeah. I've looked on my list. Yeah, it is the last on the list. So soon it will be edged out.
Yeah.
But yes, it has decent makeup and effects, along with a good transformation sequence that refers back to An American Werewolf in London, which is a greatly superior film.
Right.
But now the bad stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if the good transformation sequence stuff really means anything when the design of the creature is kind of so meh.
No. I'm just trying to give it its due.
Yeah.
Find something good about it.
He doesn't look like a Wolfman, frankly.
No, he doesn't. No. Another CG idea.
Yeah.
And it's 3 times as episodes that come up. But yeah. Dialogue is clunky, and I didn't believe that the central characters were married.
Yeah, we're not for the fact that... What's her name?
Her name is Julia Garner.
We're not for the fact that Julia Garner walked into the house the main characters were in.
And said, hello, husband, I am wife.
Yeah. I also wouldn't have thought... I would have thought they were just people that knew each other.
Yeah, there's
not
no...
people that have a child together.
There's no intimacy there.
Which I guess is part of the point.
But there's still, a married couple when you see one. Even if the love is kind of diminished a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are just strangers to each other. And not in a we've become strangers to each other way.
Yeah.
I guess it's something I've never thought deeply about. Just a tiny, almost conscious ping when I'm watching things. But for the past few years in film and TV, when frightened kids ask their parents something like, is that man dead? The parent is always honest with them.
Okay.
They say, I don't know, but I think so, whatever. I think it's that generation of parenting, that the philosophy of always being honest with your children. Is it just me, or were you lied to all the time when you were a kid?
Well, I mean, I probably don't know, right? Is the honest answer, because they gave an answer that I would accept.
Right, but I just mean to make you feel safe. Not lying to you about crucial things.
No.
If you were worried about something, they would try and put you at ease by just lying to you.
I mean, that just makes sense to me.
Of course.
Almost certainly, they would do that. I mean, just using the big example, just Santa Claus, right? That's a lie that every parent tells their kids, not for malicious reasons.
No, of course.
But
it's magic.
It's magical,
magic.
Yeah.
But if I'd asked my mother, did that guy die? She'd have lied to me.
Yeah.
And I'm all for honesty, but I think that's okay. I don't know. It finally rose to the level of consciousness watching this.
Okay.
That those moments are always depicted as being novel. It's ooh, my parents actually being honest with their kid. But it's the tomato fallacy, because that's all I see now.
Yeah. Is that just what millennial parenting is like?
That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's a generational thing. Our parents all got divorced and they were lies, so I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Not good. I think you do have to lie to your children sometimes. Or at least not tell them the truth.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as a parent, your responsibility is to, raise that child properly and to protect them.
Yeah, obviously.
And so you...
Lie as little as you can, but sometimes it's necessary, probably, to lie.
Yeah. It benefits one goal over the other, telling them a lie in that moment, whether it's to keep them calm or to, keep them safe. Or,
Yeah.
I don't want to turn this into, a justification for, lying to your kids, but I see the point.
No, Sam Harris is the big thing about, he's never lie. He never lies to his children. If something comes up that he doesn't want to know about, he said he always said, You don't need to know about that yet.
Yeah.
You're just not ready to hear that yet, which is fine. But I just think in that situation where, like, there's a guy that gets, like, taken off somewhere, then they run away, they're in a cabin. What's the harm in saying, no, I think he's okay? Like, there's no harm in that.
Yeah, and a part of it, I imagine, would just be, like, ease as well.
Well, that's why people lie.
Yeah, parents are only human at the end of the day. Like, it's like when the kid's like, I want ice cream, I want ice cream, I want ice cream. And at the end of the day, you just go, oh, fucking fine, here's ice cream.
Yeah, McDonald's. Like, all the amount of people I've heard, like, oh, we were going to raise our kids to be vegetarian and everything, but the kids want to go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
And you just take them.
Yeah.
You just, oh, my kid's not going to have a phone, but all their friends do, so you give them a phone.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the reality of parenting.
Yeah.
Anyway, the film is rather dull, quite removed and uninvolving. When things start kicking off, you don't feel there with them, or that you know them enough to care.
Which is interesting because I don't feel like that was the case in The Invisible Man, right?
Oh, no. The Invisible Man does everything right that this does wrong,
Yeah.
basically. And when he's comforting his daughter to get her to sleep, this stuff has just started happening, and it's like, you couldn't have settled into the situation yet.
Yeah.
It's just happened. The timing is way off. Plus, nobody ever seems all that shocked about what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a bit alien. Doing it as a bottle thriller, a cabin thriller, that's something on the page. That the characters can't go outside while somebody's metamorphosing inside. You know, rock and a hard place kind of thing. There are certain films where, in their consumption, you become a script doctor instead of a mere critic. This is definitely one of those films, because I think the ingredients were there, it was just all cooked wrong.
Okay.
The Invisible Man had the brilliant technique of constantly suggesting a presence, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a modern spin on the central idea, making it about gaslighting and domestic abuse. This doesn't have a compelling hook in that way. There's no, like, oh, that's the clever take on it.
I mean, I think there is. Ultimately, there is something where you're supposed to go, okay, I guess the film is about that.
Yeah, but there's no, instant, oh, I get what this is.
Yeah,
that unlocks it.
It's nowhere near as clean as The Invisible Man.
No, yeah. There are hints at generational anger issues with fathers and sons. The beast emerging in an outburst, but it lacked potency and it felt contrived. And of course, I know there can be loving dads that snap. I know they're not always angry. But Christopher Abbott's Blake Lovell just didn't seem the type. He snaps his daughter early on. You're like, nah, don't buy it.
Yeah.
You know? But they obviously liked the idea, so they wedged it in. Ultimately, Blake kills his father, Freudian. By the way, if you didn't know that it was his father the whole time you were asleep.
Right, okay.
The wolf, you know.
Yeah.
And his wife tells their daughter that her grandfather gave his sickness to daddy. But really, it's not about breaking the cycle of violence or hereditary mental illness, as that falsely implies.
Yeah, because I think there's a point in this film where plot takes over from metaphor.
Yeah, absolutely. Sacrifice is metaphor.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
When he kills his father, it's like, right, that's plot and metaphor working together.
Yeah.
There. But at the end of the film, the mother kills the father.
Well, this is the thing. Besides, the killing the father should have been the end.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he won't become him. That's the final message. Followed by then, either him sacrificing himself or running off infinitely into the woods.
Yeah, because the final shot of the film is after they've executed him.
Yeah.
The mother and the daughter, they kind of walk into the valley.
Yeah,
And they look over this beautiful view, which kind of the film started on.
The beautiful vista, which he sold to them as well. He's like, oh, there's this beautiful view.
Yeah, because it's a view that his father sold to him. It's like, you'll never get tired of that view.
Yes.
And now they're like left looking at it, which I guess is supposed to suggest something.
Just better things.
But that's the thing, like I was watching it going, okay, so they're just stuck there now.
Okay.
Because they got no way out, and they just killed the father. Like, what the fuck do they do now?
Yeah, no, it's not clean at all.
It's not clean at all. Whereas if you had, like, the father, in like, his final moment of lucidity, recognizing, like, right, if I stay, I'm going to kill them. I can't do that.
Yes.
I'm not going to become my father. He runs off into the wilderness, and the final shot is him looking over that valley while he is, like, his last remnant of humanity is taken from him.
Is ebbing away. Yeah. Or...
That feels like a much stronger use of that image.
This is what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, or he dies, he sacrificed himself, and they bury him there.
Yeah.
You know, and then they look out at the view. Yeah, like little changes like that. But yeah, because after he runs off, he then comes back to hunt the family to be killed by the wife.
Yeah.
It's impure, and I think impure sums up everything.
Yes.
Really, that's the problem. Throughout Wolfman, alternative themes just kept occurring to me. For instance, it could have been about dementia or terminal illness, losing your old self as your family tries to care for you. You know, like what they did with Relic.
Yeah, but that feels much stronger as well, because I guess if the metaphor is supposed to be generational anger, his transformation into the Wolfman is supposed to be an analogue for him losing his temper, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing is, once he becomes the Wolfman, he is the Wolfman forever.
Yes.
When an abusive partner loses their temper, they calm down after a while.
They apologise.
And they apologise. They go, oh, sorry, that's not me.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously conversations can be had like on a person-to-person basis as to whether that's bullshit. Or whether
it's bullshit, yeah.
Or whether there is, in some cases, there may genuinely be something they lose themselves
I
to.
think abusers will often feel shame and regret. It's just that, like, who cares?
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter. But yeah, no, I don't think it's often a lie when they do that. Like in Tyrannosaur and Eddie Malzahn. I mean, I've seen it personally, don't I? But also, it could be about alcoholism, drug addiction. I don't think it's ever suggested that the very first wolf 30 years ago was Blake's grandfather, but that would explain his father's temperament.
Yeah, it's just like it goes back and back and back and back. Yeah.
And his obsession with teaching survival skills. But there's another angle. Fathers and sons across the generations. Do we become them or don't we? The man transforms into beast archetypal story, or what I'm going to call super story, lends itself to so many approaches and interpretations, and pure ones too. So it's a shame that this missed the mark.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a good Wolfman film to be made from the perspective of the man becoming the wolf. Something out there, and like I said, Lynchian and Cronenbergian and Kafkaesque. But the ideas here are too thin and muddy and underdeveloped, to an extent contradictory.
Well, I think the only thing that you would lose if you don't do it from that, because I'm just thinking, like you mentioned Cronenberg there, and obviously there is an element of body horror to this, like where he's like, his arm is completely like decaying and he's like chewing it, and obviously just his physical transformation, like losing teeth and everything. But I'm just thinking, like, like what part of this film is lost if you don't consider the father's perspective? I think the only thing are those like night vision sequences, right?
Well, okay.
Where he like he can't understand the family and they're all kind of luminescent. I think that's the only bit that it's like, well, the film wouldn't have that, but it has everything else. It has all the body horror stuff still.
Well, here's the thing. I know we wouldn't have felt the intended sympathy, because that's the key thing. I think you're meant to feel...
Oh, and I suppose that as well. It's like, we know that he's actually genuinely a good bloke, so it's a shame that he's losing himself to this.
Right. We wouldn't have felt it for him had he been a complete prick.
Yeah.
But I think shifting that focus and tweaking the script just a smidge solves the entire film.
Okay.
Put us in the shoes of the wife. So she's trapped on a horrible holiday with her daughter and abusive husband. And I would have kept it to psychological and verbal. He doesn't hit them or anything. He's just a nasty piece of work.
Yeah.
Who gets bitten. And then they end up in a cabin trapped with him.
Yeah.
Right? The plot, the metaphor, the themes, they're all there. Like, you're not leaving this house. It's all there, isn't it? And I think telling the film mostly through him was the core issue.
Okay. Telling this film from his perspective.
Yes,
not in general.
Not in general. Like I said, there's a good film to be made from his perspective.
Yeah.
This wasn't it.
Okay.
But the ingredients that were there make her the main character.
Yeah.
William Friedkin's Bug is a polarizing joint, but if you want a disturbing, claustrophobic movie about psychosis, give that a crack.
Okay.
It's not rotten. It was an honest failure. A misfire, that's all. Another draft needed. I don't think it was like a fundamentally wrong film. It was just, you got it wrong.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't hate you for it. It's just,
no, exactly. And it's a disappointment above all else, because he's already proven himself with Invisible Man. Not just to us, but obviously to the studio, because they said, we'll do another one then.
And because Wolfman, just from cursory consideration, is so fertile.
Yeah.
As a conceptually, you know? So, yeah, that's it. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think there's much to be gotten from it.
I don't know. I would say no, but at the same time, it's not as if there's nothing here, you know?
I think there kind of is next to nothing here.
Okay.
But that's not to say that it's like abysmal. It's just that because of the core issue at the heart of it.
Yeah.
It makes everything wrong, you know? But not rotten.
Okay.
Wrong, but not rotten. It's just misjudged, not evil.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, you're cordially invited to fuck off.
Oh, okay.
What's this
well,
about?
not yet, because we're going to talk about You're Cordially Invited.
I suppose we do. Right, what's it about?
Will Ferrell
Yeah.
and Reese Witherspoon do a comedy.
Farrell to Farrell?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, out there, Farrell. All these connections.
Yes.
Yeah, no, they do a noughties comedy.
If you like,
Yeah. 90s comedy? What?
No, it's more noughties.
Yeah.
It's more... it's hard. It's a bit... there are things about it that, like, 80s comedy even.
Okay.
But because it's really not that. So it's a weird mix. Right. Nicholas Stoller is responsible for this.
I like your choice of words there. He's responsible for this.
For getting Sarah Marshall and getting to the Greek, which he did, have their moments.
Yeah.
But otherwise, The Neighbours couplet. That's what he's done. You know, the Zac Efron.
Oh, right,
Seth
okay,
Rogen
yeah.
thing. People liked Bros. Remember that film from a few years ago with Billy on the Street? They liked it because it was gay, but it wasn't any good. He also wrote and directed Storks. And I know you have a soft spot for
I like Storks.
Yeah.
Storks is, for whatever reason, that film
Did
is
you know
fine
that?
with me. I
about
didn't
this?
know that,
okay.
no.
It feels like a while since I've seen Will Ferrell in a substantial role, by which I mean on screen a lot.
Yeah.
Not a role with meat. Outside of last year's documentary, Will and Harper, which you didn't see, did you?
I didn't see. Like, it was on the list, but I never got around to it.
Yeah,
you know?
you're not missing anything.
Okay.
He doesn't play a character. He plays Will Ferrell, as usual.
Yeah.
Reese Witherspoon is hardly three-dimensional, but she's a type, at least.
Right.
I just kept thinking, what are you doing, Reese? Also, what are you doing, Reese Witherspoon?
Put that spoon down.
Jack McBrayer features playing Jack McBrayer. I think...
Which he always plays.
He
Jack
always does,
McBrayer,
yeah.
doesn't he?
I think Geraldine Viswanathan, or Viswanathan, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, is a very attractive young woman. Her comedy overacting in this renders her somewhat less so.
Oh, right, Will Ferrell's daughter.
His daughter.
I was trying to place who she was in the film. I was like, it's not the old woman that dies in the beginning.
No.
Yeah.
There are
okay.
also cameos from Nick Jonas and Peyton Manning for no other reason than cameos from sports stars and musicians are recurring tumours in these films.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a film about Will Ferrell's daughter. I felt slapped, that's why.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell's daughter is getting married
Yeah.
suddenly, and Reese Witherspoon's sister is getting married suddenly, and they book this island where you can have a wedding, but they double booked on accident. And so, yeah, they go there both thinking they're going to have a wedding, and there's conflict.
Yeah.
Considering it's a movie about warring families, warring individuals, really, they make concessions for each other way too quickly.
Yeah. Well, it's only Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon that are ever at war with each other.
Yes.
The other two families just kind of like go along with
The
everything.
families are just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
An earlier comedy with this premise would have been nastier, and they would hate each other right up to the bitter end when they realised they have more in common than they originally suspected.
Yeah.
Very quickly after finding out that Will Ferrell is a widower, Witherspoon agrees to let him and his guests stay under the same roof. I guess they needed that for the plot, but it just felt too nice.
Yeah.
For that early, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like, the whole thing feels a bit like, well, we have this premise, but this would never happen in real life.
No, of course.
So all of these contrivances need to happen. Like at the beginning, where they kind of show how the double booking happens. Like Will Ferrell calls the venue first.
Yeah.
And you get this old woman who's like, I remember you.
Yes.
Let me book you. And she has a heart attack and dies.
Yes.
And then...
And the pen that she's been using to write his name in is running out of ink, so it's very, very faint.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jack McBrayer takes the call from Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh yes, there's no one on that date. I'll book you in now.
Yeah.
And that's like the cold open to the film because the credits are right after.
Yeah, but also when they go there, it's still legible enough that you can see that he was originally written down there
Yes.
as well. Yeah, I know. But you're allowed one bullshit contrivance.
Okay.
Like, I'm fine with one bullshit contrivance.
Right.
Not many.
Yeah.
Plenty of gag reflex humour and improv shtick. It's the type of film that thinks swearing makes things funnier. Not inventive profanity like the thick of it, just saying get in the fucking car instead of get in the car.
Yeah.
There are cheap jokes at the expense of Southerners. There's a scene where Witherspoon's Southern family ask her, she's based in Los Angeles, have you been affected by the fires, by taxes, by the homeless? And she responds, I don't know, you've been affected by racism. They try and brush it off, but nope, the family's right on this one. LA is a hellscape. And this was obviously made before the recent fires.
Yeah.
So it has an unfortunate relevance that cements the family's point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even just without the fact that like most of Hollywood is ash now.
Yeah.
Fires, taxes, and homelessness are all things...
Major issues
worth being concerned about.
Yeah.
Racism is also one, but it's one, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Early on, we see an alligator warning. Of course, we can expect one to turn up in some hilarious set piece.
Yeah.
But I also just knew Will Ferrell would end up wrestling one.
Well, in fairness, I think he's wrestling an alligator on the poster. That typical, this is a shit comedy poster.
Yeah, that is a naughties comedy poster.
Yeah, where it's just the two main characters on the poster and everything else is pure white. They're like a white nothing-scape.
Yeah, there's I think quite a few Will Ferrell kicking and screaming. That's another one.
Yeah.
They're all white except him.
Yeah.
I laughed once. I smirked twice. The laugh was in the first scene before the experience had completely soured and alienated me.
Yeah.
It's offensively unfunny, and I mean offensive. This is straight to Amazon Prime, but you still have to pay a monthly subscription for that. And even that's an insult that anyone thought this was an acceptable comedy to
Even
release.
with all the free shipping and other shows you get from Amazon Prime.
You're still paying too much.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no problem with well-off characters or families being depicted in media. Home Alone's McAllister Family, for instance. Any 90s or early noughties comedy, really, the family man at the heart of proceedings always has a good job and a nice big house. But those were different times. That was Clintonian era of America. Now in 2025, with the cost of living crisis, seeing these people that can just book expensive weddings on a whim, it felt a bit, not out of touch. I don't want to sound like one of them, but I think I was coming off the back of watching Bill Maher talk about the cost of living in New York. Compared to when he was coming up. And, like, you couldn't get a Bob Dylan now. They wouldn't be able to live, you need to have rich parents to live in New York.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but, like, at the end of the film, after Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell hook up, which, like, I was not expecting that.
No, that's bullshit.
Because I don't know how similar they are in terms of age. But even if they're even if it's, like, plausible, age-wise, that they would become a couple, I mean, he looks so much older than she does.
But that's an ongoing Hollywood thing, older men getting young women.
Yeah, but, like, it's noticeable here.
I don't know how massive it is. I imagine it's not, like, grossly massive.
Well, it was enough for me to go, oh, no, surely not.
Well, I just thought surely not because, like, oh, we're doing that, really? Surely not because, like, it's Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
And that's Will Ferrell.
Yeah, no, exactly.
No.
But yeah, like at the end of the film, because we know what her job is, that's like a major part of her character because she's like married to her work.
Yeah, she's a producer.
She's a producer for like I don't even know what an analog would be in terms of like
crappy game shows.
Yeah, there was something to that when it cuts to like it shows one of the game shows that she produces.
Yeah.
It's called like Is It Dead?
Yes.
And contestants have to go up to a thing on a stage and figure out if it's dead. And you see someone go up to like a raccoon and they poke it and it like screeches at them.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh, it's not dead.
Right.
There's something to the absurdity of that I liked. But that's like one moment. The rest of the film is not that.
No.
But yeah, we obviously know what she does. We've no idea what Will Ferrell does. So at the end of the film, she's like, oh, what do you do, by the way? And he goes, oh, I'm the CEO of Delta Airlines.
Right.
And she's like, oh, shit, okay. Because obviously that's like a massive...
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's rich. It's a proper job. And I'm like, that's obviously a punchline.
Yes.
Because like Will Ferrell is just this goof for the whole film.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's this like massively responsible. He's a massive responsibility. But at the same time, it feels like it does kind of make your point for you. Where it's like, oh no, only the CEO of Delta Airline could like book a wedding on an island.
And again, that's
in this
fine.
Economy.
That's fine. But it just felt like a disconnect. Like just most people in the world now can't do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And there's no like satire around that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, the final act descends into a predictable but nonetheless contrived and bullshit relationship story, like you said. Part of that is accompanied by Yazoo's Only You, which I love, and is scorched in my memory as the soundtrack to Tim and Dawn finally getting together in the office.
In the UK office, yeah.
So that royally pissed me off. There's also a duet of Islands in the Stream, which, if you're British, will make you think of Gavin and Stacey. They then reprise that for a Shrek-like, get all the cast involved sing-along number for the credits that only serves to remind you that in another life, Reese Witherspoon won the Oscar for playing June Carter Cash. It's almost 2 hours long. If it was good, it would be too long for this kind of film. Terminal. Terminally interminable trash.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it. it's not funny, but you know, that's obviously the big problem is it's not funny.
No, it's not funny.
But yeah, a lot of the set pieces just feel like they never quite hit. You know, they never quite land.
Yeah, it's waiting to sneeze. A lot of it. It's like the premise is there. Like, so come on, where's the warring families thing? And it's all there.
Like around
the
point where they kind of realize that their affection towards each other, and the film transitions from them competing to them like teaming up to make sure everyone gets a happy ending. I was like, oh, even though it had been like a long portion of my life, it felt like I'd been watching this. I was like, oh, we're here.
Right.
It feels like the set pieces haven't yet escalated far enough for us to be at this point in the story.
Yeah.
Even though they've done the whole, like, oh, they were getting married on the pier and then the pier collapsed.
That's the biggest thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd go bigger, right? If for that type of comedy, it's like, it needs to get to insane proportions.
Yeah. And it never does. It never feels like it reaches the point where it's, like, full-blown...
I mean, talk about culture losing its balls again. It's just like, we're too sort of soft now to really be nasty in comedy. Not that you have to be nasty, but you know what I mean? It's like a bit out there and a bit, like extreme.
Yeah.
We're too kind of, oh no, let's have them get along like sooner than that. And once she sees he's a widow, it's not, she reacts like well to that. Whereas an earlier com would be like, so who fucking cares?
Yeah.
He's a widow. Why do I give a shit? His wife probably killed herself because of him.
Yeah.
You know, like that sort of thing, right?
Well, I mean, even just like within recent memory, there's a moment in the film where Will Ferrell's daughter gets accidentally like punched in the face by one of Reese Witherspoon's clan, maybe even Reese Witherspoon herself. And she gets a black eye. And that's like prime material for this kind of comedy. Oh, it's like the day before the wedding, but the bride has got some sort of physical thing that means that she's going to It's going to ruin her big day.
Which wouldn't be a good film, because we've seen it 1,000 times, but it would be something.
It would be something.
Yeah.
But then they just they'll just put makeup over the black eye. And
it's an opportunity for her and Witherspoon to bond. That's what they use it for. Which is that's, okay, fine, but that's not a comedy.
No, exactly. So yeah, that's the, okay, this is going to lead into the next big comedic set piece. Yeah. Oh no, they just put makeup over it and you can't see that she's got a black eye.
Yeah.
Whereas... How many years ago was Palm Springs? 2021?
Yeah.
Remember there's that moment in one of the time loops where the bride trips and falls and her teeth get smashed out?
Yes.
That's what you need to be going for in a film like this.
Yes.
It's no, there's no recovering from that. Her wedding is ruined.
Yeah.
Not, it's fine, we'll just put a bit of makeup over it and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a bit too... I mean, obviously Palm Springs had the excuse of...
Yeah,
we could keep resetting all the time. Yeah. But yeah, I take your point. Yeah, no, it needed to be bitier, nastier. Yeah. But it wasn't.
No.
And that's it. It's rubbish. Don't recommend it.
Absolutely.
In fact, cancel Amazon as in protest.
It doesn't matter that they've got Fallout and Clarkson's Farm and all of these great shows.
No, they put this out.
Yeah.
They thought, everyone watched this and thought, yes, that's acceptable to put out.
Not only is it acceptable to put out, but obviously Amazon changed their commercials based on what they've got at the moment. Get Amazon Prime, you'll get Fallout.
They're not, are they?
Yeah, they are.
They're using that as a reason to get
Prime and you'll get to see You're Cordially Invited.
You're cordially invited to Prime. Is that what they're doing?
They will. They didn't even do that.
Okay.
But that shows the total lack of creativity in the orbit of this film.
Well, I think we cordially invite You're Cordially Invited to do one.
Yes.
And on that, that's it.
Yeah, now you can fuck off.
You can fuck off, yeah. See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.